Okay, let's go and call the meeting to order. Can I get everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Russ, can we get a roll call, please?
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifel.
Here.
Sarah Lawrence.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Jessica Seeliger.
Here.
Robert White. Here. Pat Zika.
Here.
Okay, next up, adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Got a motion on the floor?
And then
I was just wondering if we could add, we're gonna talk about the parking policy and the form they don't fill out anymore that we've been talking about, and we voted to put it in the handbook. So we need to vote to take it out. This,
I second that. I don't know if that's what we do.
It was on the agenda, also, it doesn't get action. So when you make that 3.2?
Okay.
Okay, so you wanna make that motion?
okay, I'm gonna move that we add, I did it, what are we calling it?
The parking.
The parking,
hold on a second. I already made a motion, so for procedure,
I don't think it was second.
it's gotta die for lack of second, and it needs to be announced. And then we need to go back and make another motion.
Actually, I like specifics, nobody's second.
So we have a motion on the floor, can I get a second? Okay. What's that?
Okay, now go ahead, Pat.
She can go now.
Can I make a motion that we add, to the agenda item
3.2.
3.2 and, to talk about the parking pass form at the high school.
Okay, that is a motion to amend it.
Second it.
We have a second, can I get all, anyone have any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same?
You know what, actually, you don't have to vote on, add something to the agenda.
But for an action though, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we
There
have
could
an
be
agenda,
action,
we have to
that's what
follow
we
the
do.
agenda. If we don't post an agenda, we don't have to follow it, but we post an agenda, so we have to follow
Check that out.
Okay, so it's 3.2 then. Okay, with that adjustment, I need an adoption of the agenda.
We already did.
Okay, sorry, recognition of patrons and staff.
Is there Mr. Jurgensen here to see? Mr. Jurgensen did call after the board sign up and so that is up there. If the board is interested in hearing from him, I said he could be here this evening, but it was per policy, post the board sign up, and so just wanted to let the board know that he is here. But there are no other patrons this evening.
I would like to hear from him.
Okay.
So I make a motion to allow him to speak.
No, I think if the majority of the board's good, then I think we're good. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Sir, you're welcome. Come on up. Thank you.
Hi, how y'all doing? I am just now signing my son up for school. He's starting kindergarten this year. It's my first kid. Our address is 407 South Washington. In fact, it's like 4 buildings that way. And the district lines, the way they're drawn, I've been assigned to Kennedy Elementary, which is about, according to Google, it's like 2.5 miles away from my house. And Lincoln is 0.3 miles, so it's about a 10-minute walk. I was told that I could fill out a transfer slip, and initially I was told if both principals agreed with it, then the transfer could happen. But I guess that must have been wrong, because it eventually got kicked up to the superintendent. And when I called him, he understood my position, and it was basically the lines are the lines. And so he had to initially refuse my request. When we bought our house at the end of 2020 here, a pretty significant factor in us choosing the house that we chose was walking distance to school. because my wife and I just kind of like the idea of, walking the kid to and from school, talking to him about how his day is, small memories, build big memories, right? So basically, I'm here to ask, because the superintendent told me that to basically escalate it or try and figure something out, I would have to talk to the board. I believe I sent each of you an email. I got one response in an email. I also got a phone call like 10 minutes after I sent the email, which was awesome. But I'm just calling to see if you guys could, I don't know, vote or do something to approve this, just to help a family out. I intend on having both my kids here. I want to be as involved as I can be as a new parent to this whole thing. I'm sorry I don't have a speech prepared. That's really about it.
Real.
I don't know what the next
Yeah,
step
that's
is.
okay. If it's something the board wants to discuss, then typically add it or amend the agenda to add it later in the meeting as a topic if you choose to. So.
Current processes.
Sure. So we have, unless a family, a new enrolled family enrolls in their home district, if they are grandfathered in other words, if someone has enrolled at an elementary school and then they move across town to another elementary site, then we've always grandfathered those so that the students can stay at the same elementary school with their friends and keep the same thing going. And then, but all new enrollees always enroll in their home site unless there's some sort of emergency or something going on that there has to be an administrative decision on. But that's been practice for a long time. So we get lots and lots of requests every year, and I completely understand where this gentleman's coming from as far as process. And as you guys know, this has been a discussion at the board table over time on some of these things, which I shared with him on the phone. But at this time, without any changes from the board on that, we're following past practice and keeping things there. So. It is absolutely not personal. It's has to do with the fact that we get lots and lots of requests like this every year, and they're always turned down unless there's some sort of change. So
We have to keep in mind, and I applaud you for coming here and asking, but what a barrier comes up for me is if we happen to allow this, we may get flooded additionally with other people wanting to flip schools, and we're kind of really screwing up our school class sizes and all that. So just keep that in mind when we go on about this.
Can I ask one question though?
Sure.
The way that it was told to me, I don't know, I haven't seen the map, but it seemed like the way I understood it is if my house was on the other side of Washington, on that side of the street, I would have been assigned to Lincoln.
Sure.
So is the hard line of the map so specific as to divide that yellow line in the middle, or is it all of Washington can go to Lincoln, right? I mean, the difference we're talking about here is like 15 or 20 feet, right? That's where I'm confused.
Sure.
So do we need to add this to the agenda to discuss? Just, I mean, we're discussing it now, which is fine with me, but I just wanna make sure, we need.
I'm up for discussing. So do we need to make another motion?
Yeah, and we'll add it to,
Okay.
if you're doing discussion only.
that's up to the
No,
board.
or we
I
would
would,
just-
I would,
or we would
if you
action
felt
on it.
comfortable
School
voting,
starts on Monday.
yeah, if you felt comfortable
So-
voting like we have before, sometimes it's in there for discussion, but if we feel like we're ready to vote, we can vote, so I'd like to see this, so we can vote on.
If we're planning on taking action, it's gonna be 3.3.
I move that we add 3.3 to the agenda and discuss a desire to go to a different school.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same. Okay, it'll be on our agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. First discussion item, education spotlight summer STEM.
Yes, this is Sawyer.
Yep.
Come on up.
Okay.
This is your show. Talking about
I'm
summer
gonna
STEM.
I'm gonna scroll this computer, but I've brought 4 helpers, so do you guys wanna stay in the seats or do you wanna stand up? Do you guys wanna stand? So I have Chandler White, Chandler Wilmot, or Chandler White, Charlie Wilmot, Grady Ramey, and Bailey Sawyer. So they all 4 attended both camps. So we had a camp in June, a camp in July. This summer I geared mine toward the elementary, so mine was just incoming 3rd through 5th graders. So in June it was more like an art creativity. So it was storytelling, podcasting, making music. So I have a class website that I just put everything onto. And so we learned what podcasts were, and then we listened to some podcasts and we figured out how the music ties into the podcast and like what music does for feelings and like scary stories or fun stories. So then the kids created podcasts. So this is on here. I had put it on Facebook. They're super, super cute. One story they read, it's called Big Guy, and I had different students read different parts, and it's like to listen to it come together, and their voices went up and down, and it's super, super cute. So we just and then they designed the music that started each of their poems and the bug poems. So if they had like a Daddy Longleg poem, they had to think of the music that would tie into that. Then we did AI and coding. So just basic coding. With this age, we had to keep it like block coding. And then the AI, they learned how a computer can recognize different things and they can kind of control what the computer's thinking in a way. So we have, so that's the podcast. We've got a couple kids coding here. And then they created some stop motion. So we talked about how creativity can come from anything, and so they used iPads to use like a stop motion app, and they used Play-Doh. So like Bailey's here, she created a little face and then made it change and kept taking pictures, and then it goes together like a video. And then Naya there is starting to build part of her stop motion. Then this one was super funny. So Makey Makey is like a circuit board system that you can connect into a computer. And I brought in a bunch of vegetables, and we talked about things that can conduct electricity versus cannot. And so they were like working together to control these different games that we had in there. And so they all wanted these squash. And so the squash was like the thing that you had to hold to control the video game. And then they were connecting it to peppers and Play-Doh and foil and pipe cleaners, and they were figuring out what worked and what didn't to control their game. But we tried to pair them up, so they had to kind of, and it was funny, some kids knew each other, some kids didn't, and kids are amazing. They just like jump right in, and they'll work with anybody and throw their ideas together, and it was funny to listen to them problem solve. They'd figure things out right away, and then some kids were like, I need a lot of help with this, and then some kids would jump in and help each other out. We had to fly drones. So there was one day in the Cali community room, we had 10 drones going at one time. So it sounded like a bunch of bumblebees flying around, but they had to code the drones to fly certain parameters. So I said, you gotta start out with a square, and so we talked about the dimensions of a square, how far it would fly, and then they got to kind of learn how to manipulate the drone, and then they kind of got to fly, but they had to keep it in we talked about airspace, so they had to keep it in their own airspace. Then our last day, they had to design veggie cars, and then we had ramps that they drove their veggie cars down. And so the only thing they could use that wasn't related to the vegetables were skewers. And so the day before, they drew everything out. They told me what all vegetables they had, and thank goodness for Kansas, so I could get vegetables from about anybody. And so I brought in, it looked like a vegetable stand, and the kids went through and they were picking things up, and then myself and Brittany Brown, and then my son went around and we chopped things up and they made wheels. And it was funny, they were like, man, a squash makes like a flat tire. Or they would talk about different vegetables and how it worked. So the big thing that we had with this was perseverance. Like, you're gonna design something, you're gonna test it, it's gonna fail, the scientific method, you're gonna go back to the beginning, you're gonna change things. So here's just a quick, this is just like a minute.
That's a cute little car.
Look at their voices.
It works.
Do it one more time.
I made a two-wheeler.
I mean, it was like, if you would've.
The first two-wheeler. It looks just like my plan.
Just like
Alright,
next one. You ready to read? Okay, spoiler going the right way. But they figured out like weight distribution. One kid had a plastic knife and a cucumber and she was just scooping the guts out of it and she was like taking all the weight out of it. But if you walked, Jan walked up and she was like, what's happening up here? It smelled amazing because all the vegetables were cut up and you would have thought, I mean, it was so loud in there, but everybody was building and testing and it was going really good. So do you guys wanna, I'm gonna let you guys kind of add, what was your favorite thing? And this was like, the June one was like 2 months ago. So Bailey, what was your favorite thing that you got to do?
The video that you just showed.
The veggie cars. Yep. Grady, what'd you like the best?
I would go with the AI.
The AI. Charlie?
The drones.
The drones.
I really liked probably the veggie cars.
The veggie cars. The music one, I was kind of surprised because it was kind of a slower one. Like they were on the computers a lot, and I was surprised. Like the following days when we just kind of had time that we were cleaning stuff up, they all wanted to get back on the website. Like, can I try this, making this new music and layer in the music and stuff like that. So, do you guys have any questions for my assistants? It went really good. Kids are amazing, especially this age. They're willing to test and try anything. They're not scared of failure. They'll stick cucumber tires on anything. So that's what I got. If you guys want to check out, there's all these links work, listening to these stories. So that, and we had like, June we had 20 kids, and July we had like 28. So we were very full.
What's the max you like to have?
It depends on how many helpers I can get. I try not to go more just because of the wear and tear in robots, like 24 is pretty good. So that July one was pretty full, but we made it work. So
That's awesome. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
You want me to close out of this? Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yep. We'll go out to the picture, okay?
Give me one.
Yep, you're good. No, you're good.
Just wanna get a picture.
Yep, absolutely.
2 jobs at once.
Sorry. You're good. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, next up, the Eisenhower Street project.
Yes, okay, so it's been a couple of months since we discussed this. I know Jason and I have been talking about this, and then I have Jeremy Jens here this evening to kind of discuss where, if anything, the board wants to head with this discussion. I know we had, last time we talked to you, we had, I know Chief Heath and Jason and Jeremy and Charity and I had kind of gone out and done some watching of traffic, and even though Charity gets to do that every day of her life. And then I know Jason had said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going off, but that engineering had taken a second look at it and came back with kind of that their first ideas were pretty much the same, that there weren't a lot of changes there, and so we put those original pictures back in your packet for discussion, and this is just optional. It's whether I know there are some safety discussions, safety concerns there after school and at pickup as far as students crossing the street and with oncoming cars and things like that. And so with that concern out there, it's just a matter of if they're going to be tearing up the street anyway, do we want to be looking at something different or do we not? Jeremy, come on in and So Jeremy would be leading the actual street project is what I brought him in today to help lead anything. And I know along the way there was discussions about even maybe doing some signage differently instead of redoing. I know that had been a topic anyway, so.
We can certainly look at redoing signage if that makes sense to better direct traffic, make it safer. You know, the opportunity here is we're gonna tear up Plum Street and put in a whole new street, new base, new curb, new asphalt surface. So if you wanted to make improvements, this would be the most financially the cheapest opportunity that you might get. We'll have the contractor there. The designers will add this to the project. It'll be under the same bid. Our thought process, we want to get this done so that we can be out of the way come the 25-26 school year. And we're getting up to that time of making that decision without causing any delays. Yeah, about to the end of the month. I talked with the engineers again today, so. But I'm not totally familiar with what all they have proposed. I haven't really been keeping track of those drawings or the cost estimates. I don't know that I can help there. I've heard some of the comments. But yes, I think that in looking at other options, they had concerns that might not really make it more safe than what's there, so, which was why they've stuck with their, I think, original designs for the most part.
So we're kind of back to the drawing board,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously, I think everyone knows I've been pretty outspoken about my drop off, but I don't see moving it closer to the school. I think that's just gonna take out trees. I think you're gonna have the same problems just off the street.
Closer to the school.
Closer to the school, yeah. I don't think it really solves the problems. I don't know anything about urban planning. I don't know anything about street planning, anything like that. I was just home this weekend. And I noticed that at my old elementary school, it was always a one-way, but they switched it to the other direction so that kids were getting out up against the school. The passenger side was on the school. Is there a chance of making it just one way? So then you don't have people going the other side and kids
Plum
playing Frogger
Street?
across it? Yeah, even just that block? Or is that like an impossible ask?
So we've done that around Lincoln, which, I mean, on F and
Right.
G, but those do not carry the same amount of traffic as Plum Street. Plum is very busy, which I think would prevent us from doing that, but that's also part of the concern, I guess, is the amount of traffic. That would probably be a very difficult area to do that.
Okay.
Where the traffic would end up going to the west is, now we're getting into the circle, the high drive, but you know, they're not laid out in the blocks like it is to the east. And then you've got to go a little further down to get to Orchard and College. The blocks are spaced out a little longer.
Thought it was worth an ask. I think something needs to be done, because it is dangerous. I mean, you saw it, there are kids running across the street. We've got, it's a bigger problem than, you got people that park in there. But I don't know that moving the drop-off lane closer to the doors is really gonna do anything, other than move the problem closer to the doors. It goes back to what, I mean, and Chad and I have had this discussion of having, at all of the schools, better communication of drop-off lane procedures and safety. I think that's almost our better bet.
I've had a lot of conversations with the same people that do it day in and day out. And sometimes, and maybe a law enforcement piece,
Yeah, well, that's what I didn't know. I know that,
I don't know.
like, EMS posted something about, like, watch out for kids, something like that. I don't know if we get
I don't know if you get cops
police
involved
involved to,
when there's people that aren't using it correctly, if that would help, but
A lot of impatient.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean-
maybe they got started late and they're late to work, so they're trying to whiz through there and
get their kid out
And that's where I get worried about those kids that are being dropped off when in the northbound, is you've got the impatient people in the southbound just whizzing right out, and you've got kids just running right across, and that's my biggest.
and some of them don't come to a stop.
Right.
So actually,
I'm a tuck and roll mom, so I
when we
get.
went over there and observed the traffic, the drop off really isn't as big an issue as the pickup. Because you have everybody there at the same time doing pickup. So they're gonna stop in the middle of the street, they're stopping northbound, picking up kids as they're running across the street. They're doing U-turns in the middle of the street. There's a big issue on pickup over there.
Could
So,
we have like a pickup time 3, like schedule A, B for pickup time, or is that?
Well, I think the problem you have is you have people that, because I go back to work like at 2, a little after 2, 2:30, and there's already people lined up
Mhm.
waiting.
Oh, yeah.
They'll buy their time the hour sitting there,
Okay.
and so they're gonna sit there and park their car and wait, and so then if that doesn't move, they're on the second, pick up, then they're just in the way also. It is a mess.
So we haven't been presented with a great solution.
And we're not sure there is one.
Yeah.
It's just worthy of discussion, so.
so the issue is, like Jeremy hinted at, the opportunity to get the cost savings is gonna be gone. So that's the reason I brought this up when I did, is because I felt there was an opportunity for a little bit of cost savings there. But the city's gonna be done with their project before we decide what to do with our project. So it's just gonna be,
And I'll agree with Jess on that. I think that little curve that comes up by the school, it's just gonna be even worse. You're gonna get stuck in there and then you're not gonna be able to get out and really get people upset and.
Then you're gonna have kids closer to that lane,
Yeah.
because it's right outside the
Mhm.
school.
so that would be somewhat similar, but not exact, to kind of what you deal with at the middle school. And the first couple of days at the middle school, as Mr. Meyer can attest, is a little rough, but once they get the system figured out, the middle school flows pretty decent. And you got the one lane that is kind of through traffic and the other one that's drop off. Most of the time people adhere to that, sometimes they don't. But you kind of get people kind of understanding how it's gonna flow, and it seems to work. So when I talked to Tracy Heath about it, some of his biggest concerns were the kids darting across traffic. I mean, they are crossing a road in the middle of the road. And, we hope those kids are seen by the upcoming traffic, but
And I think that's happened on the north side too, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
So it's the north side street and Plum, or the north 16th and Plum.
which we got a crossing guard, right, Jeremy, at the north intersection?
That's what I was gonna say, can we just put another crossing guard like on,
There's a
it
cost to
college-
that, so,
college? Yeah, I mean, but there's a cost to any of these,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
right.
Maybe we just put another crossing guard on, it's already one there, and we put one on that, is college, I don't know what that road is.
I think most of that is in between the streets, though, it's not actually at the
Yeah.
intersections.
Yeah.
That's where
That's in front of
that's where
ice.
the concern is.
It's not even a 2 lane
It's a
road
jaywalking
after
issue.
school.
Well, they could still help with that issue, I mean,
I don't know what we want crossing guards
Well, and
encouraging
these,
jaywalking.
these
no, I'm
houses-
saying they could encourage them to cross, like they're adult that's like monitoring that block. It's encouraging to cross the crosswalk.
I think the problem is they're dropping them off at the school, and then that crosswalk is
The college crosswalk's way down there.
probably
At a
what,
tennis court,
50
okay.
Right,
50 years down.
That never seems like an issue down there.
Yeah.
no, it's not.
You have Orchard, kind of at the south end of the school, I think all of your drop-offs are right at your front door.
Yeah.
There is no place for a crosswalk, or even really probably a good place to station someone, there's so much. You've got people
They're so
parked on
close
those sides, you've got traffic trying to squeeze through. Our project is we're gonna replace all the curb except for right around the parking, but we are redoing all the asphalt, but we're not creating any more width. So, we're gonna be what it currently is, which is basically a 30-foot wide street there.
That first option that they threw up there would be not moving it any closer to the school. It'd just be extending the drop-off lane. Basically removing the parking and moving it further south, which is staff parking.
South,
Yeah, the parking that's on Plum Street, is that staff parking?
Yep.
which there may be enough stalls left in the parking lot to the north of the building to accommodate that. I don't know if that parking lot's full or not.
If everybody's there, it's full,
Looks
but
like
I
you're
mean,
gonna
there's
lose,
a lot of,
looks like you'll lose one if I,
You can zoom in enough, like there's 10 there now,
Is
and I
that
think
what it
you'll
is?
lose the 9 if I,
I think the new one is 8.
They're adding them further south. Is that what they're doing?
No, to replace what's there, but striping, we're gonna go ahead and stripe. And I think there's 14 of the diagonals, and then the south, I was thinking there was 8, and they're 90-degree parking.
So that's the other issue we saw at pickup was staff is actually leaving to go coach or whatever the case may be. So they're backing out into traffic because people are showing up to pick their kids up. It kind of creates a little bit of a traffic jam. Jeremy kind of hinted at cost estimates. I don't know if it's got that far with PUC. PUC is actually the city's contract engineer, not necessarily the district's. So that's the reason this is kind of maybe a little bit more abbreviated than what you would normally see from an engineer. Because they're kind of doing this kind of pro bono, for lack of a better term.
I don't know, I don't see any advantage of any of these.
Is there anybody surrounding their area that we could observe, see how they're doing it, or I don't know, just get some more people that might have a better understanding of how they're doing it if it works for them? I don't know.
Definitely do that.
I don't know, I mean, it would have to be a setup exactly like ours for it to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it exists, but we're
Yeah,
not coming
I
up
don't
with anything
think
great, so.
anybody was gonna have exactly our problem. Uniquely us.
I'd hate for them to lose parking for the staff. It's already tight enough through there.
I think if anything, we need more parking, because when you have an event there, there's no,
It could be added to the parking lot to the north though,
Sure.
easily enough. And like, there are people that are doing pickups that are parking parallel on 16th Street.
Mm-hmm.
Move staff up there.
That's true. Okay. Keep this discussion, I guess, bring it back next
I
month.
think, well, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
think
there's
we're,
anything,
I think
they
we're
need
out
to
of
know,
time.
and that's,
I'd
I
say
don't,
it's done based on
yeah,
that.
I don't think there's anything that we can do different.
So option 1?
Option none is what I'm hearing.
Option 1, extend the lane?
I don't know if it'll make any difference, honestly. Thirty, I mean, I can't see
I
it.
think you are gonna create a different kind of problem.
Yeah.
Maybe by doing that. I mean, I get everything, I get the crossing the street, but I looked at all those plans and tried to think them through, and all of them are gonna have issues. So it's just like, which one has the least amount of issues? And right now, it's, I mean, it's as controlled as we can control it. But I know, I've brought it to my staff, I brought it to the site council.
Mhm.
We've all tried to kind of brainstorm ideas to make it better. I guess the only option of the east side, closing the east side of parking maybe during certain times might help a little bit.
Is that what you meant by signage? Putting no parking signs on that side?
Like
or-
if people aren't
That
parked
would be
over
one
there,
of
their
the-
kids aren't gonna dart across the street, but then they're just gonna use it as a flyby.
Right.
Well, that's
So
to
now
say,
we're
it's
just
gonna
gonna
still be.
cruise very slowly,
Yeah.
and kids are gonna come jump
Yeah.
in the car.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna stop it, but
Sure.
And we still need parking for those parents that do wanna walk their
Yes.
kids in.
Correct.
And that's what I'm thinking is,
yeah. So it's just
and
like
when you
pick
have
something-
events, I mean, you'd almost have to say no parking. I guess that's what they say in the drop-off lane now, is just during drop-off time. Because during school time events, you'd still need, it's packed in there.
Mhm.
That's why it's tricky. You pick something and then it has issues.
I think we just leave it. I don't know what you all think, but it is what it is.
I don't think that any
New
of these-
asphalt sounds amazing. I like
Yeah.
that part.
We will get that.
So I think I know it's just a discussion item, but, after what I observed over there, I can't just leave it. So I'm gonna make a motion, and it will probably die, and that's fine, but it's gonna be on record. I'm gonna make an motion for option 1 to extend it down. Don't intrude on the current space, but we gotta do something. Or
That'll
I
help
think
get
somebody's
more,
gonna get
that'll at
hurt.
least give people,
Well,
get some
stretch it
traffic off of 16th, cause that's another problem that we have, is backup on 16th.
I'll second it.
Do we have the cost of this yet?
Nope, we do not have that. We haven't had a, have to find that out, but
So I
we
guess
can
my
now.
motion, to be more precise, would be to evaluate and get cost on that,
We can do
to
that.
see if that's something we can afford to do.
it.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're doing it.
I don't think I've seen option 1, so you wanna
It's the
extend it
same
which
ones.
direction?
It's the same.
South.
ones.
Do you wanna see it?
South?
Yeah.
To the parking spots?
Yeah.
So you
And-
remove all the
and-
parking spots?
No, putting more parking spots further south,
Just move them down.
so you got a longer lane to drop off.
So I guess when they quote this, have them quote out where they're not losing in parking spots, it's gonna go further south, cause this one shows it shortening up, but.
If you're taking out the island,
Moving the island further south.
So that handicap space, those handicap spaces and the ramps up to the sidewalks move further south.
Yeah, I think it just kinda grabbed that south end and just pulled it further down. Kinda lines it up with the music room.
So bring back numbers on,
Yeah.
bring back numbers on option 1?
Technically, you got a motion.
You got a motion.
Sorry, yep.
Anyone else have any discussion on it before we vote? Okay, we got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed, same? Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. You too.
Alright, next up, cell phone policy for the high school.
Yes.
Appreciate your.
Okay, last meeting, the handbooks were approved, but one of the things the board wanted, immediate, discussion on was the cell phone policy, because that has been, with school getting ready to start, that has been in the media and other things, so we want to shore up language on that, pretty quickly, and so Mr. Nance, is, available for any discussion based off of what is in your packet.
I think it makes way better sense, this version,
Okay.
without, cause I think you probably, I don't know if you watched the meeting before,
Yeah.
but
I spent
yeah,
some
it
time
was
with that.
a little confusing about the locker, I'm sorry, the backpack stuff.
Right.
So,
And I went through and couldn't find it, so maybe you didn't have the most up to date one. Maybe.
Maybe not.
But I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find it. So that was the one I felt like that's the one you approved. And so when I went back through, and that's the one that's in the current handbook that's posted, and one's been rolled out to teachers and students.
Cause the one I think that I had in my packet was like, yeah, it still had backpack and
Yeah.
locker, and then it was like, if this does, like the teacher will say, put it in your backpack or your locker,
Right.
that's the version I had.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
I've seen
had
that.
to.
And that's not the one I had seen, but
Okay.
maybe just a miscommunication.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know what happened
Yep.
So,
Cool. Okay.
So this was the original one you thought was in there in the
Yeah.
first place?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
So, and I
let's
did
see.
take the language off that you said about monitoring. I don't know where that came from. But the students will monitor their process. That's no longer in there. So,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Hold on, I just had this a question and then it just, so students are going to be allowed to, okay, how are we going to know which students have left their phone in their car? Like didn't walk into school with it, right? Cause not everybody is gonna bring a phone in if they wanna keep it in their car, so
Right.
how are you, or is it more about whose phone's visually out?
right. So if the phone's visually out in class, so for example, if you are on it in the hallway and you bring it in and it becomes a problem, right? Then we're gonna ask you to put it in the caddy. We're not gonna search people for their phones. We're not gonna keep people from using their lockers to put their phones in. If it's out and it's a problem, they're gonna ask you to put it in the caddy, right? Does that make sense?
But that's not what it says.
I was gonna say, that's
Right.
not what it says.
So
though.
they're gonna ask you to put it in, but my teachers aren't gonna go and say, Pat, your phone, is it in your backpack? They're gonna ask you to put it in your caddy, And the first time it becomes a problem, if you didn't put it in the caddy, we're gonna ask you to put it in there. Right, does that make sense? Because I don't feel
Like a warning?
well, I guess, yeah. I don't feel like it's our job to search your bag or anything like that, because I don't know if you have it on you. I don't know if it's in your car. I don't know if you chose to leave it in your locker. But that is, come in, Jason, welcome to class, put your phone in the caddy. But we're not going to fight with anybody about it, because that's not the right thing to do.
So I think everything what you're saying makes sense, but I
Yeah.
think that first sentence, it's making it sound like as soon as you walk in the classroom, you're supposed to put it in the caddy.
Yep.
But what you're saying is more of like, if the device is visible or being used, then we will request you to put it in the caddy.
Because I don't want my teachers getting into a conflict with a kid because, you know, if their phone's if it's not out and visible when they come in, I don't want them getting into conflict with it. But the problem is, and you've been there, is that the phones are out. They're out and visible. So if you've got yours, we're asking you to put it in the caddy. If you're like at the middle school or you use your locker all the time and your phone's in there, like my daughter puts hers in there, I'm not gonna search you for it, right? We want them to be in the caddy if they're out and visible in the classroom. And that's why I think it's important that we ask the kids to put them in there, right? But I'm not gonna, if it never goes off, I'm not gonna know you have it. That makes sense?
It does.
Yeah.
But like Jason pointed out, I think everything makes sense except for the first sentence of this. Because it says cell phones and electronic devices are to be silenced and placed in the classroom caddy when they enter the classroom.
Mhm.
But that's not necessarily true if the phone is in their backpack and not visible. So they can keep it in there. It's when it becomes a problem we're gonna ask you to put it in the caddy.
Right, so I'm not gonna give you permission to leave it in there because we tried that last year. Leave it in your backpack, they were going off, kids were accessing them. And so we're asking them to put it in the caddy, but again, we're not gonna fight with them about it, right? And that's the thing I think is the problem, is that if I know you have your phone and you refuse to put it in the caddy, I'm not gonna fight with you about it. We don't wanna waste time that way. And so, welcome to class, put it in the caddy, because kids are gonna have them out in the hallway. We're gonna know they have them and ask them to put it in there. And kids are gonna do that. It's gonna take a lot of work, and our staff knows that. If you have it in your hand when you come in, they put that in the caddy. And they've been instructed, they're 36, there's all numbers on them. Have the system in your classroom where you do that. But if you came in and I didn't see your phone, I'm not gonna look for the square in your pocket. I'm not gonna cause a problem with that as an adult. And this is what the teachers asked for, the cell phone and the caddy, because it was a problem. So that's where that language came from.
I don't wanna be the only one talking.
No, I understood it that way. If they have their phone out, I mean, and we're not, there's no reason, and you ask everyone to put their phone in the caddy.
I'm not gonna fight with you.
You're not gonna go search someone's backpack to say, I know you have it in there and you should put it in there, as long as they don't have it out there. It's not a problem.
Right, because if it goes off and you have it in your bag, I'm gonna say, hey, put that in your caddy, right? But I'm, again, not gonna battle you on it, so.
And I agree with the concept, you know that, like, I think these phones are a distraction. The way that the policy is written, I think that first sentence is very definitive. It's very like, it's to be placed in the classroom, caddy.
Right.
Well, if I don't.
That's how I thought it was, but.
Right, I'm gonna ask you all to come in and do that, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you that, my office aides, when you come in, we have a caddy in the office, please put your phone in the caddy. Again, I'm not fighting with you about it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If I don't see it, right, if it's, like mine's in my pocket right now.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be after you about it, okay? But I'm gonna ask you, put it in the caddy, because that's what it says to do, and that's what the teachers are working on.
So wouldn't it be more accurate to say cell phones and electronic devices, like students will be asked to place them?
I totally see what you're saying, cause it does read,
Yeah.
it does read real, like this is the way, this is the way.
Yes.
We had to take a hard stance on it, and that's the wording they wanted. I am just presenting it to you with their wording that
I
they
just
put
think
into the thing.
with the wording, it's gonna be, I don't want it to be more difficult on you as the administrator to have to enforce it, because it leaves some gray with what we're actually have in the policy versus what we're actually gonna implement.
Okay.
You know, that's just my thought.
I would agree with that. I think it needs to be changed where they're asked to place it in the classroom caddy when entering the classroom. Simple, adding one word, and then that lets you guys still enforce the policy. Basically, we're putting the policy out there and saying, well, we're not gonna enforce this as it's written.
Yeah,
We
that's where.
don't wanna start that.
No, because
We
that's
probably-
not
we
at
probably have
all
enough of
the
those.
intention. Yeah. Not at all, even at our meeting today. It's very unified. We have a goal placed around it, a very aggressive goal.
And to
be
me,
done by the first
adding
9
that
weeks.
word still gives you guys the full authority to do what you need to do.
Yes.
So you want to say students will be asked to place their cell phone in the caddy,
Yes, that feels
to
right.
silence them and place them in the caddy. Okay.
And
I'll
then
work
it's like,
that language
hey,
up.
if you don't do it, it's fine. But then we go down to if it becomes visible and it's
Right.
being used, then we have some consequences.
Yep.
So I think it makes sense with just that.
Okay.
that word.
That works for me. It's not printed that way. It's printed as it reads here.
Okay.
So in their agendas.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. Good.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, don't run off.
So will you present that like later?
I was just gonna make the change and have it updated on the website. If that's
You guys
okay.
are
Don't we
comfortable with
need?
that
Do we need
language?
to vote that in? though?
You're welcome to, yeah. If it's a change, then it would be good.
You wanna wait till he has the right?
We're talking about policy later, right?
I can rearrange it and get it to Adam and have you guys look at it, and then you can vote on it next time.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because it's no, it does matter because it's a policy that's going to be enforced. It does matter. So I think we have to probably take action if we want to do this today because
Yeah. Next week, so it would be good, and then we'll just, I mean, you've already told him the exact language, so.
Or have him type it up.
So
We're gonna approve it at the,
what I have is, just so we're clear, students will be asked to place cell phones and electronic devices that are silenced in the classroom caddy when entering the classroom. Sound good? Okay.
You'll make a motion to do that.
to approve it.
Yeah.
That's,
I would make a motion to approve the policy as stated and read by JJ Vance.
So, say that,
So moved, yeah.
that's all you have to say, I keep trying to think of something, I should just say that.
had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign?
Where's the caddy?
Where's
Alright, next up, sports officiating class.
All right, Mr. Nance is back up. Last month, the board approved licenses for the sports officiating class and asked Mr. Nance to bring back additional information. He is here for that.
yes, okay, so, after meeting with Ellie, and talking with, the gentleman, his name's Caleb, you have in front of you the proposal, just a better formatting for it. So we're gonna offer volleyball, football, and basketball. The reason for those is because that's our highest needs in, current format. So that'll be offered in the fall, this fall. And we have 30 seats, so we were able to purchase 20 more. Limit on the class is 10, so kids can complete in that 9 weeks 3 classes. So volleyball, football, and basketball. And talking about that with her, she thought that we could implement all of those sports within this school year and get that taken care of. There is a capstone project. There you can see in course requirements. They are going to be assigned to each sport by Ellie, our athletic director for the district, and they'll work 2 contests. And that money will come back to fund the seats. Now, 2 contests. Contest in volleyball, if I work lines, I work the whole night, right? That's technically 2 contests because I do lines for Wellington versus Clearwater, and I do lines for Wellington versus Chaparral, and I do lines for Wellington versus somebody else. Those pay a certain amount for the day, for their contests, and that money then will come back and they'll be, their funding will be taken care of, right? Because that money, they pay them anyway. That money will come back from the athletic department to the business department to fund that. And I know that you are going to create a calendar or something for that. So that money falls through there. Football, 2 contests. If you work JV, or not JV, I'm sorry, 7th or 8th grade football in one night, that's 2 contests. And then basketball, any of the middle school, there's C team, there's B team, basketball, they would work those contests as well. So, and speaking with her about that, she thinks it's great. She thinks that she can keep 10 kids busy through those things. We are working on the additional support with the uniforms. So volleyball has a different uniform than basketball does. Football has a different one than basketball does. And so working on getting some of those bought so it doesn't incur the costs to students, and having those where they can check them out. So they can check them out, go work the event, wash them, or we have washing facilities there and return them to us. So that they don't have to incur that cost, because what they're incurring is they're going to incur the addition of sports. So Keisha, $65 for your first sport. They're partnering with Reps, the curriculum, gets that first class waived. So if you certify in volleyball first, that one's free to you, and it's $25 for each additional. So they're going to incur that cost. We didn't want them to incur the uniform cost right away. Now eventually they'd need to get their own, but they'd understand, hey, I really enjoy this sport, but I don't want to buy the volleyball equipment or the volleyball officiating if I don't want to do it. Does that make sense? So we're working on that. And then what you see there on the second page is an officiating agreement. And I would like you to approve this agreement. You don't have to do it tonight, but it would be nice to have that in there so the students and the parents know, hey, that when I work this, I'm committing to turning that back into Fund My Seat. So it gives the program overview, talks about certification, the capstone project. It does talk about if you don't complete it, they'll be responsible for the $45 for the course. This contract, in my opinion, locks them into paying for it. I have a parent who's going to enroll her kid in it. She's like, I'll pay the $45. He doesn't have to work those two contests. I'll pay it. I'll pay it for every one of them. Okay. There are some people who can't afford to do that. So this gives them that ability to do that. Student signs it, parent signs it, and then the representative from Wellington would sign it as well. So that is kind of the thinking around it. That is what I know Cheney does. Their kids who do it, they all do volleyball because they have that big volleyball tournament up there, and they all work through that every other year. So, thoughts?
So the question on incomplete number 6, it says, should the student fail to complete the capstone project, he or she will be responsible for the $45. It doesn't address if they don't pass the capstone. Is that?
So in talking to Ellie, when they work it, she would do an evaluation and coach them to get better.
Okay.
Because once you've been through it, you should understand the rules, but you're going to need some coaching. And there'll be some mentoring because they have to work in teams, right? And so there'll be some mentoring, just on the job mentoring with other people, because that is kind of the culture of refereeing.
So you really won't fail the project if you attempt it. This is if you fail to complete it.
If you fail to complete it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Little question on the uniform piece, is that for like the kids that are currently in it, or, so, I mean, I think you've had pretty good interest in this,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that uniform piece could kind of snowball on us.
Right, so
If you're trying to take care of the ones that this 9 weeks and this 9 weeks and this 9 weeks.
we're only offering it once a year.
Okay.
So we would have the uniforms in all the sizes for those people who are taking it, and they do that. We're not offering it first and second semester.
Okay.
We're offering a second class.
Okay.
Care of an athlete afterward.
So you had more interest in places.
I don't know the number, but I know we have close to 10. So that's quite a few interests. So for a class that we didn't tell them anything about until summer. So.
What about that one, the gentleman came here in,
Aviation.
yeah, aviation? Do we have that going or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we met with them today. I can update you that on
Yeah.
principal report or.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
You're looking to have this approved.
I'd like to have it. I'd like to have the contract for them the first day so they can take it home, share it with their parents.
So we're looking for a
I'm gonna
motion.
have to read it.
Yes, please do. And it doesn't have to be. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, my only wish is that it would fit on one page.
Yeah,
I hate when signature pages get separated from the
Okay.
front.
So I could probably reduce the font.
Yes.
That's just a personal preference.
That's okay, I can do that.
No, that
Fit to
would
one
be
page maybe.
Finish the one page.
Yeah.
That's for you.
Okay, does this certification only apply in Kansas?
Well, it's through Keisha,
Okay.
so Kansas
it's
State,
just a
yeah,
Kansas thing,
but it
okay.
stays with them forever.
Could we put in here like Keisha certified,
Where would you want me to put that?
like on program overview, of opportunity to become certified official? It doesn't say what certification it is.
Certified officials for Keisha.
Or Keisha, whatever.
Is that okay? That's the organization that they certify through.
Yeah,
Fine.
I mean, I think we need to say what certification we're offering.
Yeah, I can do that.
I've got really serious neck issues right now, that just,
Oh,
sorry. Used to be going like this, I'm really.
So one page,
I have issues.
Keisha.
And does the general public know what a contest is? Cause I don't know what a contest is.
I don't think so. So we could define that for our
I think if
students.
they're
and
taking the
parents.
class, they should know what that means.
Yeah.
Public,
Yeah.
people.
I don't, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just explaining my thoughts as I go through. I'm not saying we have to change.
Well, I
anything.
didn't get it to you right away, so that makes sense.
How about this? So moved.
okay. We had a motion on the floor. I'm looking for a second.
A second.
Got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is this with the changes?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Anyone opposed, same sign.
Okay, so I'll get that fixed and I'll get you a copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, next up, safe and secure grant.
Yes, so not every year, but most years, for quite a while now, the legislature has released money for safe and secure schools, which then flows through KSD, and we have the opportunity to apply for some of that money. And so put some information in your packet about the money that we were awarded. It is a matching grant, and so the district is required to pony up their half of things that are used. And so and Darcy, you jump in on whatever you want to explain as far as further than that. I know Tech has been involved and is wanting to upgrade the servers or replace the servers that have been running our security systems. And so that's a big giant chunk of what you see on the Sandifer options there. And go ahead, Darcy, I'm stealing your thunder.
Well, Ryan actually was the one that came up with, so basically in June timeframe, this always comes up, and so any of the building principals have reached out to Ryan or I, and cameras that they wanna add or stuff like that. This year Ryan came up with the upgrading the servers. He said they were installed in 2016 and normally have a 3 to 5 year life. And so now we're kind of maxed out on the number of cameras. There's 235 cameras on the district that we can support with the servers we have right now. So that's where the main cost is from the servers, and then there's a few cameras down at option 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Sandifer's quote for the more cameras for the schools.
It's like 120,000. We're getting 21,000.
We're getting, the match we're getting is the 60,000. 60,333. So it's 126,668, and they are going to, that we were approved for 60,334. So the district would have to put in 60.
And the grant can be used for anything that's safe and secure, just like.
They have,
It depends on the year. This year they were targeted.
they've added a couple things, so they break it out by secured, the entrances, like the badge entrances, upgrading technology, like the camera upgrades that we've done. First time SROs they had, and I think they added a communication piece, and then they also added an AED this year with the 2 new pieces that were options.
I'm really confused by the spreadsheet because I'm looking in the column that says state grant award. and it's 21,200. And then the column with the 60,000 is the budget
Oh, that was a request, sorry, yes, we got 21, sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
That was the what we requested was 60 and we got 20,
Okay, alright.
yes.
So we would have to come up with 100 of it.
Yeah.
If we did all of that.
If we did all of it.
Okay, so that changes things, okay.
Is this like timely? I mean, do we need like an answer on this now? I mean, it is a discussion item.
It's, no,
Just
we
presented this.
have all year to make the purchase, but usually they wanna know if we're not going to use the full or match at least the 20,000. They wanna know so they can reallocate it to schools who aren't going to match.
I think it'd be silly not to match the 20,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So you, essentially you would be accepting the grant, and then we could bring back whatever
Yeah, and I can
options were available, and then you
prioritize.
can spend 100,000, you can spend
Sure.
40,000 with half of it paid for based off of that. But those are just some options on the Sandifer, that our district needs, so. So essentially,
I
we're
would
just,
need to accept the grant.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. There you go.
so essentially you're just promising to pay at least 20,000 right now by saying that, right?
But we will have a discussion on what we're gonna spend it
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
how much, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to.
Yeah,
We'd
I'll
have
get with Ryan and have him kind of help us
Get a
show
price on what he's looking
prioritize
for.
and
We just
how that
wanted you to
works.
see what some of
Yep.
the options that Tech are talking about.
Okay, next up, bond architect.
Yes, so, the facility committee, had a meeting, with DCS and kind of got some ideas on architects, and then, sat down and interviewed, 2 architects. Essentially, the next part of this process is, if the board wants to head toward a bond, we need an architect to lead, that, bond issue. Lead all of us through that, and so, after doing or having those interviews, the facility committee felt that echelon architecture was kind of the recommendation that they were making. We put information from them in your packet, and so looking to move towards hiring an architect to lead us down that road. So I don't know if Brandon or Bob or Kelly wants to jump in on any details with that, but that's the general gist of where we are at. So essentially, Echelon would be our architect if the board approved that. And then they would probably be working with DCS or another, or they had a connection with DCS, which I know we've had a long, comfortable relationship, to be construction at risk. And that's all rolled into them working through projects through Greenbush. And then we would also be working with Destin Navy as far as bond financing and all that. Destin has already come and spoke to you as well about the ideas for the bond. So that would kind of be your team of people that are leading us and the board through the bond project heading into the spring. So essentially beyond that, the facility committee really has just gone around the district and come up with ideas that might be good. But once we hire an architect, they will actually come in and try to get more information from the community. They may have ideas that we haven't even thought about yet. So it's just been pretty general up to this point, and we need to make it more focused. So looking to head in that direction.
Do we, I'm not yea or nay yet, do we need to approve that we're gonna have a bond issue before we approve the
I think
architecture?
that's down the line, right?
Well,
Next year.
I hadn't heard anything different from the board as far as, I'd assumed that was the direction we were headed. That's been all the material that's been coming my way, but if that makes you feel comfortable as a board, then that's fine.
Well, I just watched the Wichita School Board from they had to vote to approve,
Yeah, and that's fine.
it's on the record that way,
Yep.
I mean,
And it
Yep.
just means that we're putting together a proposal,
Yeah.
right? And then it goes, we put all of our stuff together and then we propose it to the public, right? And then the public decides. It's my first time go around,
Me
so
too,
I
me too. I've never been through a bond issue as superintendent before, so I'm gonna be learning along the way. So in talking to you all, I have mostly heard, yes, let's head in this direction. Why wouldn't we when the high school is getting ready to be paid off and it's not going to be affecting taxes to the level that it could at a different time? And that we have lots of deferred maintenance that's needed. That I've heard from most of you that we are not interested in building new schools or new construction, but taking care of the ones that we have. Unless some other idea comes up with some of the other topics with preschool and some of those other things along the way, but that would require coming into more details with an architect and planning and what our community wants. So yeah, like Pat said, if you guys feel like that would general vote on heading towards a bond issue, then that would be fine too.
We actually, are we
Do we have any kind of a list
put
or
it on
anything
the
of
ballot?
what
We're
we're
still-
thinking, just,
No.
you know,
That's
just
what I
a
know. That's
preference or what
that's what I'm
we
saying.
have to have, you know,
Right.
where is what we
That's
are voting for a bond issue for?
The architect is gonna lead us
That's
through
what
that
this guy's
process.
gonna do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we're,
Okay, I understand that, but if I'm out there on the taxpayer and I hear people talking about bond issues and, you know, and it's just for a architect, well, what are you gonna do with it? What do you want, you know, what do you want bond, pay the architect, you know, this doesn't sound like. That's enough
So,
information.
correct me if I'm wrong, we're not voting to do a bond issue tonight, we're voting to get a plan together to see if we wanna do a bond issue.
yeah, it's just to get the ball rolling to see if we want to do it. Just to hire the architect so he can come up with the list, so we can decide if we want to act on that list.
And there may
Good way
be
to put
things
it?
we wanna take off the list, there may be
Yeah.
things we wanna add to the list, but he's gonna get input from us, he's gonna get input from the community, he's gonna get input from the staff. To
That
figure out what that
architect-
list
an
looks like.
architect's- What an architect firm we're gonna call to do that, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like the locker room thing. It's like we initially voted to get the ball rolling, right?
Right.
To get the architect to draw the plans and then,
That's true.
right? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, similar to like the PEC thing and the.
So we're not voting, not that
We're not
I'm
voting.
yay or nay, I'm just saying we're not gonna vote to have a bond issue and then. No,
That will come
Not
later, I
tonight.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After we
Okay.
get the list from this architect,
Yeah, and
if
you
we
could
choose
vote to have
to.
a bond issue and then later on get more information, decide not to. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it's whatever makes the board comfortable. This is simply going from getting some experts in the room that can focus on our community and our district and get more information to the board than we can just going around, you know, making general estimates of what we need.
I think the sooner the better, and start working on it, cause there's a lot that we came up with.
did DCS have recommendations? I'm just confused because, I mean, you received recommendations from DCS for architects, don't they usually give us, haven't they made a plan for things that they think is wrong?
But they would be working with the architect separately, if the architect chose to. I think the architect would have to make that choice. But they said that they did have a Greenbush contract that they could work with DCS directly, and so since the district's been comfortable with them, that would be an option if the board was comfortable in doing so.
So DCS knows what we need.
DCS has a good idea what we need, but the architect will fine tune it even more.
Can we not see what those things are? I mean,
Sure. Yeah, well, what the board got a book several years ago that DCS
Yeah.
put together and approved that. And then I can send out the list. We have kind of a facility committee list that's just general. It's not
yeah, I
professional.
mean, that'd
It's
just be
just
nice to see what we're
it's just
talking
walking
about.
around, and we can send that out to you. But that's just a, you know, people
Sure.
putting
Just a wish
ideas
list.
down
Yeah,
on
wish
paper. Yeah.
list.
And the architect in their presentation very much said, you know, there may be some things that you guys aren't even thinking about that may come up in this process that, based off of that, which is what we need. We need somebody to fine tune our make this funnel down into a direction. So,
I may have missed it as I was scrolling through here, cause it's like half loading and half not loading. What's the cost of this architect?
That's what I was wondering.
is it in the,
I haven't seen a price yet.
okay. Do you remember what they said in the?
I think it's more
I can get that for you.
So is the architect gonna tell us what all we need to do, all the things we need to fix?
Give us suggestions,
Okay,
it's up to us to decide.
Suggestions and a
Ultimately up
ballpark
to the
figure,
voter.
right?
Yeah, and then ultimately
So
up to
then
the
we know
voter
what
to
to ask
vote
the
on
voters
bond
for.
so we're talking just maintenance type of things, or build this, or fix these windows, or just that kind of thing?
Deferred maintenance, yes, that is what has been mostly talked about so far. Now, depending on district goals. There are things that may go beyond that. I have not heard anything from anybody about building a new building, but like, one of the things that I think may come up is like the building that is the old ag shop that's tied to the middle school. That could be gutted and redone. That's not a new building, but that'd still be new construction within a building, remodeling. So there could be some things like that come up. The board hasn't really made any decisions on if we head towards preschool, how that would look and all those types of things. So that could come into play. So we just need somebody to focus and guide and also get more information from the community than we have just throwing things on paper. So, and they would be able to survey the community and get some of it.
How much was your, did you say?
But I can get that for you. I don't have that right on.
The big one, page 26, I think.
Oh, the fee structure's in there? Okay, what page?
26.
26, page 26.
Of the 34-page document.
Yeah.
So facilities assessment is 7,500. Bond services are another 10.
10, yeah.
Anyone else have any questions on anything, or something bring it back for next month?
Yeah, I wanna.
Bring it back on next
And then I
month?
wonder if there's a way that, if we're talking about security, maintenance, that type of thing, can we align with the last topic we just talked about? You know, like the technology thing,
Probably whatever we don't do on that list,
we'll come over
we
here.
could roll over if we chose.
I mean, I don't even see a contract that we would,
Is it okay if I ask the architect to come next month? So
Yes.
that you guys can meet and discuss and, okay.
And I'd like a little clarification on what they're gonna offer for bond services versus our current bond.
Okay. We will get her here, or somebody here.
Any other questions on that? Moving on, handbook committee.
Yes, last month, board approved handbooks to go out into the world, but also with the caveat that there were some board members that wanted further discussion on them. And so the idea was thrown out there about possibly forming an additional committee to look at handbooks and revise them for either revisions for this year or getting them revised together for next year, however that all got decided by the board. And so wanted to throw that topic back out there as an option to put together an additional committee if you choose to.
This committee would include the principals.
The committee could set up a structure, however, that we would probably bring in the professionals,
Sure.
depending on the topic, to advise the committee.
Be part of it.
Yeah, that's what has worked best up to this point, so.
so do we need to first vote on if we want a committee, right? And then second, we need to assign it.
However you want to do it.
I would make a
But we're not
motion.
voting on the people for the committee, are we?
We would need board members assigned to the committee.
Right, but we're not voting on, okay,
Have we ever voted on members for committees?
no.
Yeah, in January, don't
Well, I guess,
No, we don't.
we just
We just
assign
say
them?
that,
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's.
So just
that
have just vote on a committee and then you can assign members, that's fine.
So we have a motion.
I would like to make a motion to develop a handbook committee.
Got a motion on the floor. Can we get a second? Got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign.
No.
No. Yeah.
Approve that too.
And my stance is I feel that on that, so. Yeah, everybody's gonna miss something occasionally, but I think the intent's there, so I wanna leave it there.
Could I get membership of that committee by, obviously, the board typically has done 2 board members, but just
I
because
think,
it.
I'm just talking, I think we should, I hate to interrupt, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
I went with having 3 on the committee to just having 2 on the committee, I think, last term this year. If one person's gone, then it makes it a little bit hard for discussion. I like 3 on a committee, it just seems, I don't know, breaks the tie, or, just more conversation on, and there's no reason why we can't.
We have other committees, right, with 3?
Just negotiations.
On negotiations.
And you had added a 3rd one later on.
I think it creates a potential issue. You have 3 and any one of those talks to another board member, we got an open meeting violation. Yep.
The rules, I mean, it says you can have 3.
I know, and if those committee members talk to any other board
I
member,
understand what
we
you're
have a
saying, I just,
violation. So it ties the hands of the committee a little bit, I think too much so that's why I think it's better to stay with 2.
Well, volunteer.
I would like to
I'll do it.
volunteer.
Anyone else?
If we do 3, I'll do it, but if 3 is gonna be a problem, I'll step back. So that's up to you guys. 1, 3.
And 3's fine, just don't talk to us.
Outside of this meeting, outside of this meeting, don't talk to us.
Hi, we won't talk to you then.
Yeah.
I think 3 is good. I get what you're saying, Jason. But I think 3, because if I can't make it, if Pat can't, whoever, then at least we have one other person that's there.
Just keep in mind the other board members will be coming in blind, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel
Kinda
like
have
that's how it is on all the other committees, like facility committee, like I don't know what's going on,
Yeah, 3.
3?
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Next up, furniture auction.
Yes, Kelly, you are up, sir.
Okay, so you got the pictures sent to you. So with the purchase of middle school furniture, so those pictures are mainly the older furniture from the middle school. And we had an auction last year or 2 years ago, had that middle school storage area cleaned out pretty good, and it just filled it back up again. And so what you're seeing there is mainly student desks. It's probably about 70% of what you're seeing. There's file cabinets in there, a few teacher desks and so forth. So there's not a whole lot there that, maybe some school could take advantage of it, but we just have to get your approval to be able to put that school property up for auction.
What happens when it doesn't sell?
That's not my question, what happens if it
We
doesn't
just
sell?
pitch it.
Facebook Marketplace.
I mean, if you want, I've watched those auctions.
That would be up
Those
to you
file
guys.
cabinets,
If it doesn't sell on
file cabinets don't bring
auction,
50
that would
cents
be
anymore,
a decision that you guys.
because nobody uses them.
So have you ever, I guess I'm not real familiar with these other auctions, I know there are people that buy anything for $1, so.
And that's what they'll probably do. They'll probably put a group of 5 student desks together and put them in a lot and then sell it that way.
So what's your avenue for this auction?
Thur. They have another school that they're working with too in the county. So they usually send out a group text or email to different school districts so they can have a larger auction.
So commission? What's the commission on the auction?
What is that commission on that? I can get that
If
for
I'm
you.
gonna guess, I'm gonna say about 30%.
I was guessing
it's-
50%.
My guess was at
It's-
least 30.
Yeah, but we get it out of there, who cares?
Auction, I would think.
If that's
It's
not a
not
cause,
doing anything sitting in there.
most of it
Yeah.
sell.
Okay, I'm gonna throw something creative out there, okay? Elementary principals, would it be cool if like you had a project where in art where you just painted like a file cabinet and you had like kids and then you like auctioned it off at the end of the year or something? I don't know. I'm just thinking,
That'd be
how
cool.
can we incorporate what we have into a project or something that could maybe get more money than we could just at an auction? It, obviously not all of it, but maybe like save a couple of them, or I don't know. Just throwing it out there, thinking outside the box.
From what I've seen, a lot of it's kind of damaged stuff a little bit too.
I don't
Like, it's
think
not
it'll sell, but
top of
don't
the
put me on
line
record for
file
that.
cabinets by any means. Storage, obviously, like I'm all for a creative project and I'm a garage sale person, so that's right up my alley, but to like get things and just store it while you're doing the project is the tricky part.
Yeah. I see those cool like black lockers. Those could be cool to review.
There's an
Buy 'em at
auction coming up,
auction
Sarah.
That might be the
I
coolest thing as a whole.
I don't obviously know the condition of these things. I only have these little pictures.
Yep, sold.
So what do we do if they don't sell? I mean, what do we do with them?
Well,
I'm
either,
just curious, where do we take the dowry, you know?
I mean, yeah, if nobody wants it, then that's essentially what you're doing, is taking it to the dump.
Does the person have to, that we give 50% to, have to haul them all off? Or?
No.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we can throw that in.
Yeah, throw that in. It's cool.
Anyway, the board has to approve any selling or.
So we're looking for a motion and a
Sounds
discussion, but we wanna get going on it.
But yeah, or we can bring it back to you and you can think about it. That's up to you. It's gonna sit in a room for another month if you want it to, so it's no big deal.
I move we, start with the furniture auction for the middle school.
Okay.
So moved. Let's maybe say that.
See?
We'll keep
See how that works?
I don't see how.
We have a motion,
A second.
we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same.
Let me know when the auction is.
Sarah, they're online all the time. And you can pick, usually like.
I gotta get those lockers.
You can pick how many tables you want.
Buy a file cabinet, we'll do an art project.
Alright, next up, budget hearing.
Yeah, this is just a reminder that we have a budget hearing that the board scheduled on August 19th at 6 o'clock. Just wanted to remind that since the community's listening right now, just wanted to make sure to make that announcement. And that has been out and published as directed by the board. That's just a reminder.
Alright, first action item, 24-25 strategic plan and district goals.
Yes, so I've had this for last couple months, discussing strategic plan and district goals for the next 5 years and the next year. As you know, it's a rotating strategic plan, so we make an adjustment every year. We do not wait 5 years to adjust the plan. And then district goals, a 1 year snapshot of things that that the board would like the district to work on, along with the other things we do. So last board discussion was to add an additional goal at the bottom there, which we did, and did language best we could without using any words that didn't want used. So so that is out there for our recommendation is to approve that so that we can get started on those goals. And then one of those goals is to restructure the strategic plan for next year. So you would see one of the projects we would be working on is making the strategic plan different and fit our new accreditation model that's coming out this year on the state. So looking for action on that this evening.
Well, I just have to say something, so I got something to add, kind of. You might remember at one point I said, when I looked at the goals, that they were just fluff. Well, these are really good goals, they're not fluff. But I would like to see, like the SMART goals, where you have, how was it met? And I'm kind of blank right now, but you know what I'm talking about, but. Anyway,
Specific measurable.
there's no way to measure.
Yeah.
And I know in the past, people have said, well, if it's done, if the project's done, or if we did this, and it's not like I just pulled it off. I mean, people use them, they're great tools everywhere.
So maybe, how does it align like with the new outcomes, like the transforming the strategic plan? Would that mean that the next maybe set of goals would be more measurable, specific?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the new
Well, and we're
outline
learning now
is.
too.
Okay.
The state board just voted
Yeah.
on it, and so we're now in the process of getting information. They just started their first Zoom today from the state, so we're learning that as we go too. The next set of goals, if the board wants to focus us in on more, writing them differently or however it needs to be, then that's a conversation you just need to have with us, and we will start that from the beginning.
Kind of
So-
seeing how it comes full circle, like with how like evaluations and things like that, it does make sense. I think it's easier to do those things when we have like measures of is it done or not, rather than just a yes or a no.
Yep.
So
I actually brought that up last year when we were at Catholic County, to just, have measurable, use that tool.
So just so the board's aware, what all of us do on a daily basis, or not a daily basis, a weekly basis at least, is what these goals do is they focus us in a certain direction. So we have conversations all the time. Russ gets tired of hearing it, I guarantee you. That we have conversations all the time where we are going down through the list of goals that we have, that have been approved, and we are constantly having that conversation. What have we done towards this? What are we doing towards this? What's happening towards this? By the end of the year, we're going to explain the story. Each goal has a story, and we're gonna be able to explain that story to the board. And so that's how it's been in the past, but it has been much more qualitative than quantitative up to this point, as far as have a general direction and then being able to explain the story behind it. So if you guys want that changed for future goals, and you want it more written differently, then that's entirely up to the board. But this is literally everything you're doing right now are now projects. So as soon as we get kids in classrooms and get everything going while we're dealing with all this regular school stuff, we are also focusing on these projects and how we're going to guide the district in these areas. So, and then be able to tell the story behind it. But it has been more qualitative. It just has. So.
On the Zoom today that we were on from KSD for the new accreditation model, they talked about having much stronger and clearer criteria for outcomes, and that they're going to present those to the state board in October. And so we don't know what those are yet. They did put some of the compliance pieces on there that were fresh as of July 30th. And so we haven't had a chance to go through all of those because they're brand new and we learned about them today. So.
And if you think about Jen up here presenting on accreditation over these last several years, all we heard all the time is tell your story, tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. That's drilled into our brains. And so it does become this story-based qualitative, this is the goal and here's all the stuff we're doing in it, but it is delivered much more story-wise then. But that also fit KISA, which was good because then we had things for you, we had things for the state, so that all matched up. So that's why I say it's a good time to change the strategic plan towards the information we're getting towards KISA 2.0, because that's, the district wants to be in good accreditation model and help guide with the rest of the state. So
It seems like you think I was trying to be negative or something. Not at all. I wasn't pointing fingers at either. Or saying you haven't done a good job. I'm just saying it's nice. It's just a nice tool to use to see where you are and not have to wait a whole year. And nothing would have to change. You would just share chapters instead of the whole, all along the way. And then we would also have, more information instead of.
Yeah,
I'm not judging anybody or anything.
I didn't take it that way.
Okay,
So
I just
wasn't
want
my
that known.
intention. Yeah.
I just don't think it's a bad idea.
No, I was just explaining what's happened. That's all I was doing.
I think both pieces of the qualitative and quantitative are important pieces. So, and maybe that's why I was asking, like, do we have any more clarity on those outcomes? I realize it's new. Maybe we don't have that answer yet, but I think it sounds like there might be more metrics that.
There are going to be. They had some examples of what that's going to look like today, but it is more of a yes and no. But there are 3 different pieces. One's compliance, one's student improvement, and one is outcomes. And so, but then all of those are going to be more clearly defined, and they won't have that ready for the state board until October, and that will just be a draft at that time. So we won't know more until then.
But it sounds like we're headed in that direction where there's more clarity and
Adam's talking about is aligning the strategic plan to align with this, so that when we're working on these things, that they go together like that. So.
I'd move to approve the 2024-29 strategic plan and the 2024-25 district goals as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, administrative reports.
We've
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, 3.2, action for parking, high school parking.
Okay, we, last meeting that we talked about the parking at the high school, it was that we wanted to hear from the SRO officer and get his feelings, so I just felt like her, that's right. It'd be nice just to hear answers and what, you know, as a whole, why we kind of brought it up in the first place and just hear about it.
Could you speak to her?
Yep, so I talked to her, and shared with her your concerns. We looked over the form and, she said, you know, maybe when the form was created, there was a purpose for it. Maybe the SRO at the time wasn't stationed out here, and so you had that information. She said, and if we're unreachable, then it would be good to have that information. She said, but if there's an accident, she said, because your parking lot is considered public, just call 911. She said, or call me, and they can take care of it, because they can pull all that information up themselves. She didn't feel like the driver's license was a violation of anything because it's information that you put on, like when you stay in a hotel, you put your driver's license number down. It's things that you give people. But after speaking with her about it, there was really no reason to continue it. So that was her recommendation, that just call the police and we'll take care of it. So that was the conversation with her, and so that was the reason for recommending not to you to not do it anymore, right? So
Okay, so we approved the handbooks, so that's
that
policy.
is,
So if you're gonna take away, if we're not gonna do the form anymore, then we need to amend the policy, we need to take back the policy. Is my understanding.
Okay.
So, I make a motion to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it still so bad to have them, kids and parents, sign something that says they understand the rules of the parking lot?
I think we do that at enrollment. I think by consenting to enrollment, I think that's the last check mark on there. It says, by enrolling my kid, I consent to, I can't remember, there's a consent something.
I don't remember seeing anything like that.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm not looking because I don't have a driver yet, but.
I think it was the very last. But I don't have the screenshot of what it says. I mean, I tried to capture what it said, but I don't remember it. So unless we go to enrollment and get that far, I don't know. I think we can put the rules of the parking lot somewhere.
they're in the handbook,
Yeah,
the
so we have
driving
that
rules, the
covered.
speed limit, all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just getting rid of the form that has that
Yeah.
information on there that you can obtain from the license plate if there was an accident.
Yeah, police officers can do that.
Yeah, police officers.
Yeah, so if there was an accident, a parent came in and asked me for information, I couldn't give it to him anyway, so she didn't see any reason with her being at the high school all the time to have that information, and
I appreciate you asking, you know, and talking to him and sharing that, but that discussion really with all of us was held like 3 months ago. That information was shared. And finally last month, you know, we wanted to hear about it, but anyway, I just wanted to, thanks for checking on it.
Thank you.
sorry it took so long.
Is there one more?
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to remove, or to, what do? Do I delete our policy?
Just say so moved.
I don't know what,
I don't know what we're voting
So
on.
strike the parking permit, or
From-
parking
from the handbook,
form from
Sentence.
handbook,
Notices the parking permit.
in the handbook.
what did it say, Chad?
There's one sentence in the handbook, students and parents must sign the parking permit agreement in order to drive to school. It would be striking that sentence.
And obviously the process of it.
So we've already struck the process, we
Okay.
didn't move forward
That's
with
not
any of
in
that at
there.
open
It's just
enrollment.
that sentence.
Okay. Then I make a motion to strike that sentence in the handbook. to take that parking form out?
Can you read that to me one more time?
Yeah, it just says students and parents must sign the parking permit agreement in order to drive to school.
We're not in the permit anymore. Okay, motion?
Yes, I
Okay,
see.
the motion on the floor, can I get a second? Second. Got a motion, a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye, anyone opposed? Next up, this elementary school policy,
The boundary.
boundary discussion, yes.
Okay, I'll start. I think it's really time we look at this. You know, we looked at boundaries, we looked at, just for sizes, but we didn't really stop and think about that they were people and that, and our town's not that big. And I'm not sure if this should have or could have been addressed when we were talking about the transfer stuff, but it was foggy to me in the first place, so, maybe that would have been a better time, but, this day and age with, who knows if your kid's gonna come home from school anyway, to have a mile and a half across town and you go 2 blocks. I don't know.
It's real, oh, go
Go
ahead. No, you go ahead.
My take on it, there's gotta be a line drawn someplace. So if we do move that line, 50 feet, as mentioned earlier, then the people that are on the alley, they're still in that same situation. So where are we moving that line to? I mean, because
But
you're
you're not on the
always gonna
alley.
be affecting someone, Pat. If you move that line, it's always gonna be affecting someone.
But if
So-
you all live on Washington, it doesn't affect the alley, I mean, I live on this side, you live on
I
this side.
think the
so-
point he's making is then do you just keep moving it back and moving it
No,
back?
I understand that
Right.
part, but you're also, we're saying what I was talking about too.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. The bigger discussion needs to be had.
Oh, I know,
But
and
I
let's
don't
start
think,
now.
I don't think one-offs is the way to deal with the bigger discussion.
How far away did you say it is from your house to Lincoln or to Kiwi?
So according to Google Maps, it was like 2.3 miles, something like that.
Okay.
It's too far for a walk. And I was looking to avoid having to, add another car to the car.
And what is the bus rule? Like how far away does the student have to live from a school to get bused?
2.5 miles from the flagpole
So
of each school. That's why we only have, because our town is only 2 miles wide, that's why all of our bus students are country students. Which is why you had the original decision probably to send all bus elementary kids to Eisenhower to make all that work and everything back in the day. I mean, the topics you guys are talking about right now are age old. I mean, we all inherited them. Everybody sitting in this room inherited them. So changes are, discussion on changes of that is great. I have been as you know, I brought this topic up in the first place many years ago. So I'm all for discussion and change in this area, especially if it can affect our class sizes across the district. And possibly structure academics better if we can pull that off too. So
if I could suggest something, I've just been sitting here listening. Just for clarification's sake, is the line dividing Washington right down the middle between that side of the road, Lincoln, this side of the road, Kennedy?
yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Could it not be a situation where the specific houses that are on that dividing line road, they can be assigned to whatever school they're currently assigned to, but at least leave the option open for those homes if they're aware of the proximity and it is obviously an issue, like in my case, they get some sort of look on a choice of which of the two schools. Cause I mean, like, I get it that you don't wanna open up the floodgates of allowing an entire transfer, cause that would just be a chaotic mess. I totally get it. But on my personal end, it doesn't make a lot of sense for 6 times the difference when I have, a 10-minute walk, right? I don't know, it was just a suggestion, I don't know. Cause I mean, at a certain point, me backing out of the drive to go drive to Kennedy, I'm tipping into Lincoln's territory, right? I mean,
And how far, if you knew approximately 2.3 from your house to Kennedy, and what is it from your house to Lincoln?
0.3,
Okay.
10-minute walk. Go up Washington to Lincoln, or to,
Sure. What do our numbers look like at each school? Cause I
I
know
don't-
usually Kennedy's has fewer students, and that's one thing that we're battling is.
Yeah, and I don't have that yet. I will have that once once school gets started, we'll have a lot of stragglers that still come in.
Right.
So I will, typically the board, I can give you preliminary beforehand, but usually I give official numbers in October. But I can give, once school gets started and we get going, I can give you preliminary. So.
We want families to stay in Wellington. We want them to bring their kids here, use our schools. And here we have a person that's not asking for a whole lot, and I know it opens up a can of worms. And I love Kennedy, and I want Kennedy to be full, and I have a friend right here, I don't want her to not like me because we're sending everybody over to, different schools, but it would work that way everywhere, and just, I can imagine, I live on C Street, and you're my friend, and I can't go to, we don't go to school together. It's such a small town. I mean, maybe an exception should be made, we really work hard on it. I mean, we have been working hard, I'm not saying that, I just,
I have a hard time telling a parent that wants to be actively involved, like walking their kids to school, be like, oh no, sorry, that's not a childhood memory you can form because of the boundary. I mean, but I know we have to have rules, and then we have to, that's where I'm torn, but I'm always gonna err on the side of the relationships and the child and the family and parents. So.
We've had this before, right, Adam? We've had people that have bought houses in other schools, or footprint, that there hasn't been space. The one I'm thinking off the top of my head is Washington School, because it's a smaller classroom sizes. We've had people that have bought houses in that area that have been told they can't attend there because it's full.
Not since I've been in this position.
Well, I know it's happened.
Yeah, that may have happened in the past, it's not.
That was way back.
It was back when Mark was here.
well, we're trying to get away from
No,
that,
I was-
we're trying to get better and get away from some of the things we've done in the
I
past.
agree. I think it needs to be looked at.
So I just,
Taking one off is tough.
I make a motion, we let the gentleman's son move to Lincoln and really work on fixing the situation.
I second that.
We got a motion. and a second.
Wait.
You
Just,
did
I'm
two
asking,
things in there.
should I qualify it by saying that street names, people that live on the same street, or?
No, I think you do as a one-off.
I think you just do the
Okay.
one.
Okay, either way, that's fine then, I just wanna make
But you
sure.
threw two things in there, I think. It was allow him to, and then have a discussion on, I mean, I know
No,
that's kind of.
Future discussion about the boundaries.
About the boundaries.
Okay.
Can I get clarification on this, because.
Let's just do one at a time, Pat.
Okay, so we.
You did it well, too.
I know, but I think they want me to talk well.
I'm sorry.
I move that we allow this gentleman's son to go to begin school at Lincoln, and that we.
Nope.
Okay, that's all I say.
Okay.
Son or family?
Family.
yeah, cause I have a daughter that's,
Yeah, no,
that's gonna
family,
come up
but-
again, I
yeah.
guess.
I know, I don't know what we want to decide, but I know he has
One
more
at a
kids,
time.
so.
One at a time.
Hmm?
One at a time. I'm not making the motion.
Where are we here?
So we have a motion for family to attend Lincoln schools, live in Oval, Washington, where he's at.
We just need a second.
Second.
We have a second. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed saying? Aye.
No.
And just because the rules, that's why.
I totally did, like, and just for the record, I don't have any, I made a post on the town Facebook page, Sumner Rants and Raves, asking about the two different schools, and I got glowing recommendations about everything, so honestly, I have no concerns about the quality of education, it's
No, they're
purely
both great
logistical.
So,
I have a question now. Can I ask a question?
go ahead, cause I got one.
So if I have a parent who just sat here and watched this and they call us tomorrow,
What do
do we
we just
refer
do?
them to the board?
Well, I need clarification as well, because my world is getting ready to blow up. I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
I have about approximately 50,000 phone calls now tomorrow.
Yep.
So, if, because you have a lot of people, no offense to you, sir, at all. This is just everything at all. People who call tomorrow, I don't have an answer for anymore, based off of this, so I need to be able to direct them in some sort of situation. So do you want me to have them email the board? Do you want me to have them sign up to come to the next board meeting? How, because it's above my head now, so I need direction from the board on how you would like me to proceed when I get phone calls.
My stance on that last vote is every one of them comes here. We don't trust you to make that call, so bring them here.
Or we just have a boundary conversation.
Could, for the
I
moment.
think we have a boundary conversation, and I don't think that was a fair comment, Jason, I'm sorry.
I
I
don't
do
either.
trust Adam very much, I respect his decision, absolutely. This is a ridiculous rule. This is a ridiculous rule. We're gonna make a man drive 2 miles to take his son to school instead of
It's actually
0.3.
It's actually 1.3, but that's okay.
So I just need clarification on that so that I'm.
Could we say, I mean, that's why I asked before I made the motion, that, living on the same street, is that the room that, I mean, that adds a little bit more drama to it, but it also might fix the problem.
It's gonna be case by case.
Okay, that's fine, with me.
And the other people that got turned down this year already, do we want to make contact with them and tell them, like customer service wise, do we wanna call them and let them know this happened, or do we wanna, or do you wanna just let them contact us?
The board is making a decision for possibly, the future things just don't go backwards. I mean, there's a way to say that, I'm not saying it right.
I think let them contact you.
Okay.
Let's not open up a bag of worms even
Okay.
worse.
And I totally get what you're saying, Pat,
I
just
think you
backwards for
did.
me is 2 days ago type of thing, so, as far as turning people down for the same thing, so. So if it's okay with you guys, then I will have them sign up, I will have them sign up to come to the board, if you're comfortable with that.
I think the bigger thing is we have a boundary conversation.
Yeah, we can put that on the agenda for sure.
100% agree.
I have a question if I can ask.
Sure.
So how do we handle it when they call our school tomorrow?
I would send them to me.
Send them to
Yep.
you, perfect.
You do like you always do. I mean, this is the process that's in place is the principals are asked, if the parent doesn't like the decision, the superintendent is asked, if the parents don't like the decision, the Board of Education is asked. He followed the procedure that's in place. We made a decision.
Sort of like what we did for people that wanted to participate in sports that were out of the district. I mean, that was a case by case basis. They followed the line and they ended up to the board.
I do have one last question for simplicity's sake. This is just a procedural thing, honestly. I have to turn in my receipts for the Star Card. Would it be easier if I turned it into Kennedy since all previous enrollment things have gone there, so it's all bundled
It doesn't
together?
matter where
It
you
doesn't matter where you turn it
It
in.
doesn't matter where you turn it in.
I would just get
Bring
enrolled.
Bring it Lincoln.
Yeah, just do enroll at Lincoln and Chris can take care of it.
Okay, thank you so much.
And he's gonna be the PTA president next year.
Congratulations.
Voluntold.
All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Now we're on to administrative reports.
JJ, you had
Okay, so Choose Aerospace, we met with them today. It's pretty exciting. So they're bringing us we're actually buying new, 4 desktop computers that will run their programs. They have to do a lot of simulation, flight simulation and things like that for some of the programs, so they're gonna get 4 of those. There's some work they'll do with a vise on bending some parts and things like that. So they're buying several of those that are freestanding with a weighted bottom. The amount of resources they are pouring into our school is amazing. To the point where we're gonna have some storage problems, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. So that's exciting. We have 6 on the list already, just from the Facebook posts, the conversations on here, word of mouth. So she said they can take up to 25. She said even more if they want. the other thing that you should know about it is that the curriculum comes to us with a contract that we have to sign. And there's a $200 per student fee that normal schools or other schools that might have this out of Oklahoma have to pay. Our kids don't because of the funding they have. So it's just super exciting. They'll add another class next year, so there'll be 2 classes so that they can get kids through. So the kids who take it this year, if they're 11th grade, have the option to take it again next year and get more of that stuff, the certifications and things. And so having that 2-year dedicated thing is amazing for our students and for the opportunities they have to bolster the employment in the area that's much needed. So there's some new companies that are open and come and talk to us that love to snag kids out of that and bring them into their wiring harness business. So it's very exciting. And I think as kids learn that there's employment right after, or even in your internship stuff, paid internship stuff, we fight them off to keep them out of that class. So just exciting times, all the stuff they're gonna give us to support our kids. So that is very exciting. So, and Mrs. House is gonna teach the class.
Very good. Anyone sign up for it yet?
What's that?
Have anyone signed up for it?
Yeah, I have 6 on the spreadsheet last I saw, and they haven't been to school to hear about any more of them.
Cool.
So, yes. Yeah, we had one kid really eager about it, and I had to tell him to slow down. So it was awesome. So it's good stuff.
Anyone else?
Anybody else?
Back in business.
Yeah.
Middle school looks great.
New carpet.
New carpet and the floors, got them all waxed up, and we have some finishing touches, but looks good.
I would like to say thank you to the high school crew that come over to Lincoln and help polish our floors. I appreciate that. Thank you for letting that
He was
happen.
excited to get to come help and
Yeah.
teach the guy.
Yeah,
So
it was good.
expand his leadership, so that's good.
Yeah, he was, and they communicated very well, asked me all kinds of questions, is it okay for this, okay with this, what would you like, what do you want? So they were amazing, so good job, Eric, and I can't remember the other 2 guys' names.
Yeah. Sorry. Unfortunately, we've had some good turnover in that department. So.
But yeah, Eric Pitts was amazing, so kudos to him for sure.
Can I give a shout out real quick?
Yeah.
So today, when staff came back, I gave a quick shout out to our 4 custodians. And I just wanted to do it publicly. They've been amazing this summer, dealing with all the installation, the carpet, moving furniture in and out. I mean, they've just been swamped, and they've done an amazing job. So I just wanted to give a public shout out to them. So.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay.
Can I ask JJ a question? CrewCon. Can I get a little, is that what we're calling it again? CrewCon?
Sure.
Okay, what's the actual?
So it's Crusader Connections.
Right.
But it's all
Okay,
been.
sorry, yeah. Can I get a little more clarity on the schedule and then whether it's great? Because maybe you've already
Yes.
told me this, but I don't recall.
So it's Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. The very last portion of the day, because that's where our teachers wanted to give a try. And yes, it's graded. Yes, attendance is taken. The bringing it back, saying it's important and making it pass fail was not something our building thought was the right thing to do. So it's graded. They'll be graded on their individual plan of study assignments, which are in our overview for each semester. Those are broken out. And the purpose of making those the graded assignments is because we started the STAR recognition program last year. And you have to grade students' portfolios. You have to check all these boxes. And we assume since we started, it's not going to go away. We're going to continue to get that recognition. And so making sure each kid has these parts done, that the individual plan of study is required anyway, that bolsters that applying for the gold star. And So those are the things that graded. There will be participation that teachers can put in at their discretion because there's some things they need to complete on Zello and on some of the other programs that they do. And it allows also for some passing to other teachers to make up tests and things. So there's mentoring going on during that time, so that's good as well. So.
Thank you.
All right, board member comments. Pat?
Okay, I just have some questions, kind of some follow-up on some things I mentioned before. I mentioned a couple times about having training with like AEDs and that type of thing. It can all be done, I mean, it can all be done in half a day if you needed to, and, full day, but it could be one of the in-services, or just do it on a rotation basis maybe, where every 3 or 4, just set something and get everybody certified.
That's how I have AED, so.
That's part of
Well, it's our in-service now.
AED training.
Like Holly's going over, I think, isn't it?
She's
Oh,
doing
Narcan.
Yeah, but I know she's when sitting through
Well, it all really could go at the same time.
what's it called?
We had to go through the AED training before, but
Yeah, and it's during they do a bit of it in CPR. Yeah, and
That's
there was
right,
a
yeah,
huge
that's
training with that.
That's,
So
I don't think it'd hurt for everybody to be trained CPR nowadays.
And
Is there
I brought that up to Holly last
Yeah,
time. It
it's
came up
nice
in
to
the
do it for a
board
whole day, but I mean, I've taken the certification in futures every 3 years, and all 3 of those things are talked about now. Narcan. So, I would like to see us ask that we worked on this year, maybe, if anybody else thinks so. I don't know how you.
I'm fine with more people learning how to save lives. I don't see any problem there.
I'll just make a motion. I just moved that we, I lost my whole train of thought, actually, I'm doing, what, I don't need to?
One thing I could do is have Holly come and explain to you all the training she's doing and give you kind of an overview of what's already happening.
Status quo, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, to work with little kids, you have to have that, so it gets worse with.
And we have to have some people in our building are
Yeah, I
trained.
know, I totally understand that, and that's what I've always been told, but, I panic anyway, and I can just see me saying, training, running around with 2 or 3 more people around me, I would hope somebody, and I'm not, that's what it's always been, we were just told that, the principal and, people are trained, but, I don't think it's, another way of saving a kid and they're trained in it. So,
Anything else?
and I'm thinking an in-service, so maybe our new friend Chad might wanna get involved.
Yeah. Bob?
I'm good.
Wait, I'm not
gonna pick
done.
on anybody.
Oh, wait, no.
And I've also mentioned vape detectors. We're not being very proactive we complain all the time about kids vaping here, vaping there, tearing this up, tearing that up, and we're not being very proactive with it. And I'm not gonna be the one that has to monitor to be there, but
At one time, I think we were gonna ask Derby, am I thinking right? Or there was something
Yeah,
we
there
were
was,
gonna
there was
ask.
some conversation at one point about,
what
talking
do
about
you know
it.
something about it, Bob, that, do you know anything about them?
No.
I think we were just gonna see if it was really worth the money, or if
Everything,
kids were,
I
kids
do-
were finding a way
yeah.
around it.
I Googled that myself,
Yeah.
and so
Cause
far.
I've heard both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I really hadn't heard anything, but just researching on Google, what I found is 75-25, so I don't know. I mean, it's up to us to discuss it or decide on it, think about it till next month, but
Are you the one that had to contact Adam and Derby, or why do I have Derby in my head for some reason?
I don't know. I remember talking to principals about it briefly, and they've brought it up before. I know that there have been a lot of the reviews we've gotten from other administration is mixed, and so we haven't spent the money based off of mixed reviews. To be honest with you, doesn't mean that we can't do it. It means that we just haven't. I've never really had a district. Did you guys have it in El Dorado? Did you guys have directors? When I talk to administrators, it's always one of these things where it starts good, and then the kids find ways around it and all this stuff, and And so, I'm not saying it's a good thing, bad thing, it's obviously something that could go into bathrooms and kids know it's there, which is a deterrent, just like a
They're moving-
police officer.
Ones like that, or you could move them.
But I don't remember, to be honest with you, where that conversation
I
went
do know where it
originally.
came from, but, I said Derby, got, you know, 100, whatever they got, you know, for their high school, and it worked so well that, and I just saw this on Channel 12 or something, and then I asked Taylor, and, it worked so well that they got a grant to do their whole junior high, so, I mean, that's one happy story, that, you know is true, and.
Okay.
But that's where that came from.
Yeah, I remember that being talked about, so I wrote it down on.
Okay,
Just
and
check.
I just wanna make sure all the drill, you know, fire drills, all those kind of drills are being done by everybody and they're checked, and just make sure that we do those drills this year.
We have to do the security drills too, so.
Is there anything new with that security drill, you know, what you do in a, I wrote that down, what's it called?
It's all,
It's called
our
something.
SRO will do the ALICE training with,
Okay.
with
I don't know if
everybody.
they were seeing something
Is there
different.
an opt-out for that?
There was.
There was in the past.
Yeah, there has been in the past, I don't know if we've talked about that too much this year.
Our adult training's tomorrow, so our teachers will be trained tomorrow. They have to be.
I think
Yeah,
last
I
year there
think
was
I
a
remember,
student
I remember
opt-out.
that, actually, now that
There's
you
a student
mention that.
opt-out.
Like for us, at the elementary level, Officer Leslie goes like classroom to classroom to talk to you, so that way it can be on kindergarten level.
Do they practice it, or do they just?
But it's mostly conversation in the first training, just to talk through it. And then one of our trainings is a walking field trip to the evacuation locations that they walk on, and then there's a review later.
Okay.
So,
I'm just curious.
do I get on the intercom and make an announcement? No.
No, it says don't tell anyone. It's all on fire. Yeah, that's all.
I'm still done.
You're done?
I'm still-
Yes.
Couple things, this is probably better for Monday, but I think it would put a lot of people's minds at ease if I ask now. I know we voted to stay revenue neutral, but on our rundown, it has something for capital outlay that we did not have last year. Is that just a clerical thing, or
On the county sheet.
on the county sheet? Yeah. It shows that we're,
County sheet?
Yeah.
That everybody got today too.
Yeah.
Shows 100% increase.
and so it shows 100% increase there when I know that we voted to be revenue neutral, so I'm,
I'll have to reach out to the county because I don't get those.
okay.
So
Yeah, here, I mean, I took pictures of mine, but it almost has to be, because we don't have the public hearings scheduled below because we are supposed to be. But yeah, it shows 100% increase on cap outlay. So if we could look into that, cause
Yeah, I'll
I
send
think,
Jen an email.
I had a very panicked husband that was asking me what that was about. I don't know the answer. Next up, Mr. Nance. And I know that there are other board members gonna ask the same question. High school schedules are still not up in the parent portal.
It's because they're not done. And so I know that, go ahead, what are you gonna ask? Can't see you.
No, sorry.
Okay,
No, I'm listening.
our counselors have been working very hard to get those things taken care of. With the schedule change and working through, trying to get the computer to schedule it, that didn't work. She didn't have enough training to do that, and so,
She needs training on that, okay.
uh-huh.
So is this I'm new to the high school, is this normal to be this late, or?
It's not where I want it to be.
Right.
We'd like to have it done, we'd like to have it done before they leave, right? So, I'm working with them on when they start, the enrollment process, and there's just so many things I've tried to kind of put my thumb on, but that is definitely one of them that, I'm disappointed about. And so the other thing is with our 115 leaving and our very large, 8th grade class, that we've got some moving around to do. And so, yes, I'm very aware it's not unfortunately finished yet.
Do you have anything you wanna talk about? Anything you wanna add before we move on from the topic?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some kids that are potentially starting tomorrow on college classes, and they're really not sure what they're 100% enrolled in. That's a little scary.
With college classes?
Yeah, some of those college classes start tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm aware of that and that they've been in picking computers up. I just wasn't aware that they weren't enrolled in college classes yet.
And then and I don't know if it's due to the schedule changes or what, but to kind of piggyback on that, I mean, there's kids that are being told, you know, hey, you may not be able to take BoAg, or you may not be able to take band, or you may not be able to take the aviation class, or whatever the case may be, because of all these scheduling conflicts.
Right. So with them being singletons, that does bring up problems. And so I'm very well aware that
What'd you call them?
singletons.
Okay.
So sorry, that's
Interesting.
counselor language. When you have a singleton, it's the only class offered. So band is only offered third hour now. They moved that in efforts to make it available for college kids, right? There's a lot that go to college that want to be in there, and having it first hour didn't work. That was the problem with our AP Lit class, is that we only had one. So now that's split to two. And just finding the way that works is a balancing act, unfortunately. I have a kid who wanted to take Spanish 3. It's offered once. And trying to figure out where those fit is difficult. So I wasn't aware that
Is there
there's conversations
compromises
going on.
Is there compromises that can be made there? I mean, is there
It
anything?
depends on the teacher, right? So I know that Miss Urban is great about an independent study for that, for Spanish. You know, you can do it in Spanish 1, and I'll give you the same instruction. She
Doesn't
says,
quite work in band though.
No, I agree. And having 2 sections of it would be great, but then you run out of numbers, and I want them to all together and things like that. So that's rough, and I understand that struggle. So I'm sorry for that.
I want to welcome back teachers, admin. To our teachers, I know it's kind of frustrating because we haven't settled on a contract yet. Andrea and I were talking, and we both feel like we probably would have this thing licked if it weren't for the insurance, but I appreciate everybody that's doing their due diligence to make sure that we're getting the best possible. And so I just hope that everyone can see that, and that we can work together. I really feel like as soon as we get insurance done, we're gonna be there. And then to our kiddos coming back, I just had my 25th class reunion this weekend, and kids,
Whoa.
kids make the memories, have fun, build the friendships. This is one of the greatest times, and someday you're gonna be old and looking back on it and just have the stories. So have fun, guys, and most importantly, learn something. But be a friend, make friends. We met someone out that just noticed our shirts and said, "Hey, I went to school with you in first grade," and most of us didn't remember, but she remembered the people that had made her feel special and had been her friends because she kind of struggled. And be that person. I'm done.
Good speech. Good speech.
The only thing I had was the scheduling thing. I think we kind of covered that. And then welcome back to all the staff. Look forward to what this year brings, and the students.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. Glad to see your smiling faces here with us again tonight. That's all I have.
I want to start off with a praise. I heard really good things about Tiara with her training that she did with the employees. She really provided great details, and I think they were really appreciative of the layout. So great things there.
Good.
I do want to point out that I believe that the handbook that the honors section is different than the handout that was given at enrollment.
Okay.
So I think that the form that I saw was a purple form. And if you look at the categories, there is like weighted classes in the left side. So it talks about like to get your 10% salutatory and valedictorian. So on the very far left, I'm just doing this from memory, so I could be wrong. But on the very far left, there's like, in order to to be in the top 10, you had to have one or more weighted, and then the second column was 2 or more weighted, or I'm sorry,
Those are
AP classes, I mean, yeah. 1, 2, and 3. That's in the handout, but I don't think it's like that in the handbook. So I think they're different.
So there's 2 because of the change, but I know we've talked about that several times, and I'm pretty sure it's like almost 100% sure it's in there.
It's in the handbook?
Yeah.
With 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. Where
Okay.
you have to take them to be considered.
Because it could be that we also had the non-updated version that were also the cell phone
Yeah, I'm
policies.
almost 100% sure that's
Okay.
in there, because we've talked about it several times, and the testing and how you weight it and this and that.
Okay. And then can we come up with a process for teachers and their summer requisition forms? Whether it's just a 1-page, an FAQ, something, I feel like I've heard from several teachers that are confused about why they're getting denied their orders. I believe it's going through like the proper channels, but then it gets here and I think they're denied. So it would just be nice if maybe we had, and maybe we already have it outlined, but just something like FAQ or the 1-page that says we're not likely to get approved if it contains this, or you are, I don't know, I'm not forming an opinion, I'm just hearing it from both sides. And so I feel like there needs to be some better communication, or there's something that's happening where teachers aren't getting the supplies that they're requesting, they're being turned down. So I don't know the solution.
When you said last week that you gave each school funds or operating, what you call that, but then the other,
Building budget?
your building budget, that's not a lot. I mean, I tried to find it the other day when we approved, I just saw that. Couldn't find it.
It's not, we don't approve it, it's just that every year they get so much per kiddo based off of their head count. And that's for them to spend throughout the year on any supplies that they need. And it's up to the building principals to what they approve and don't approve.
So if they approve it, does it come to central office?
Yes,
And
because
then-
it comes from central office funds.
Okay.
Summer orders is different.
Summer
That's what
orders
you're
is
talking
different
about.
than building
Yeah, I'm
budget.
talking about the summer
Yeah.
orders,
Yeah.
yeah. So can you explain the process of how that works, the summer orders?
So summer orders depend, that's like wish lists is the way I've been presented that it is, not necessarily a given, and then it's based off of funding that we have available at the end of the year / beginning of the year, obviously. Curriculum comes first for like, a lot of high school curriculum gets purchased either it depends on in June or in July, depending on where we are at each fund. It depends, sometimes if it's something with STEM, we can spend it out of a different fund that it can't be spent out of it can be spent out of a different fund instead of general or LOB. It's pretty much just where our balances are at the end of the year.
Okay, I think that really needs to be looked at because teachers spend enough of their own money all the time, and if somebody's gonna tell me I can't have, you're not gonna buy me a pack of stickers. Why can't the money, how much money do we get of the 35, whatever it is per child? So each school gets a percent of that, or? Cause you said they get the money that the state gives us for each child.
You're talking about the building budget?
Yeah,
Are you talking building budget?
Yeah, I
It's
said building
$20
budget.
per kiddo on building budget, I believe, is it 10 or 20?
where does that come from?
District
Business office.
funds. Business
Who
office.
decides it's $20 per student?
That's something Darcy inherited, that's been around for a while.
Maybe we should look at that different.
And I wonder if there's a misunderstanding that it's a wish list, because that's the first I've heard of that.
It
I
should.
Well, I don't think we run the people working in the district don't know the budget, so to send something down to central office and it's guaranteed approved would put Darcy in a situation where she
That's-
could run out of money
That's why
anytime,
if
so I don't think we
maybe
wanna
we
set
need to
that.
look at who and where and how long ago $20 a head was given to each child. And how did in the olden days, in 15 years ago, you get to turn in a summer order. You know, like I said last month or whenever, you could order stickers, a game, I could order, a jump rope, I could order, as long as I was within the money that I was given from my principal. You guys remember that?
I'm on here.
I never
Okay,
have
that's
been
how old
given
I
a
am,
budget for
And
summer.
I agree, look at all the facilities, that's when I was a kid, so, we didn't take care of things, so it wasn't being spent on that. We can't get teachers anyway, they don't make any money. Somewhere in our budget, we can't pull away from something else in with our
I
teachers'
think that's
orders.
it, we'll have to look and see, I agree.
Oh my gosh,
I
look and
100%.
see.
What,
Look at
I
our
mean, we can't
budget.
just, tonight we can't just say we're gonna add
I'm
$5
not
per
saying
student.
tonight, but I mean, we don't have to look at our
So we
budget.
have to look and see where we can cut it. Sorry that we have to look, but we can't
Well,
wave a magic wand and have
no,
$5 more per student.
No, we can.
We gotta find it somewhere.
I would just like to know, where did that, how long ago was it $20 per student? You know, cause 1966, we've had inflation since then.
I think building budget and summer orders are two separate
Right,
things
that's
to
what she
talk
said,
about.
but every teacher, she said, you get $20 for every student in your
That's a
class.
building
No,
budget.
that's a
Oh,
building
that's what you
budget.
told, that's what you said, I'll go watch the video I just watched last night. That's what you said.
They get $20, the building budget is determined off of how many kiddos they have in the school. And it's $20 a kiddo for
Right,
their
exactly.
building budget.
To be used for the school year.
Right,
And then
For-
there's summer order requisitions.
I know, to be used for the school year, for
This
what?
building budget. So, say you've got, so for example, I had a teacher whose chair broke, right? And so I could afford to, out of the building
Yeah.
budget, purchase them a chair. Things like that. If something comes up, like our art department, she needs paint thinner, okay? You don't wanna store 25 cans of paint thinner in the building, so she puts in how many she needs, she goes to Mill Creek and the building budget purchases that. If we need, like I could afford to purchase some of the new PE teachers, things she wanted to teach classes. So, pickleball, things like that. You know,
Ours
sometimes
can
they
go
use
towards
it,
busing, like field trip busing, ours could go towards student of the month assemblies, it could go
Yes,
towards all of
student
that
of the
kind of
month.
stuff.
Don't we have, okay, just lost my train of thought again. So
And
there'd
so-
be things like that, that could
Right.
be,
so then summer orders, so for example, some of the summer orders that came through were $3,000 for one teacher requesting things they needed for their class. Materials to weld with, or a new saw, or things like that. Things that they want to replace, and so they ask for it in summer order. You know, all of our art supplies, so the paint and the things that are consumable.
in the art room.
Yeah, so like Mr. Larky's paint,
But don't we
clay,
have a
those things like that.
We have a curriculum
summer.
line item, don't we? We have a curriculum budget.
But some of that doesn't go, like the curriculum for textbooks goes towards textbooks and software, that stuff, it doesn't go towards the supplies. The supplies come out of our general fund or our LOB.
So,
Well, whatever's decided, I think it just needs to be outlined, because I think the frustration comes from the expectation that they're going to possibly receive something, and then I'm just hearing from them that they're just getting denied.
and that's been the last 3 or 4 years.
So I don't know, there's something in the middle that we need to come to, because there's probably frustration on both sides. But whatever it is, we need to outline it, it needs to be clear, and like whatever the process is, it needs to be clear, it needs to be communicated. I'm not saying it's not, but there's a disconnect that's happening, and I'm hearing about it. And so,
I think we should check with other schools, because I know somewhere in their budget, they figured out a way.
You have to find something to cut.
So cut teacher supplies, cut a sticker for a little kid, cut a baseball bat, a welding thing, if we
But
can't
you
afford
gotta
that.
remember, it's like the cost of doing business. I mean, we
I
all have our
understand
wish
that, but
list.
school's not a business.
I mean, I'd love
You
to have all new
understand
trucks,
that.
we gotta pay for it.
School's not run like a business, I mean, it's just, that's what I've been told.
There's still a budget.
Now, I'm saying, I believe in our budget somewhere, I would like to see us find money, I'm not saying $3,000, I'm like $500. Everyone, so, I don't know, that way they know what they get they get their wants that they want for the classroom. So anyway. Okay. I'm done, wish I could start that.
okay. Adam, can you give an update on the supply drive that young professionals, just a short update, just so the public knows, since we talked about it in open session? I know you may not have a lot, but
Yes, however, I'm regretting not opening an email that I know is in my email that I received today on that topic that I have not read.
I
yet.
have it if you want to.
You want to see it?
Right here.
No, just update.
There you go.
Just update.
Oh, okay, I didn't know there was a pending
No,
email,
sorry.
so.
I literally,
Actually,
I remember
yeah.
scanning through all my whites earlier and I saw that one, I was like,
3,000.
Okay, here's what it says. This summer, we hosted a bingo fundraiser to benefit the schools and help provide school supplies to students. We had a great turnout and we were able to raise enough funds to be able to make a $3,000 donation to USD 353 schools. We would like to give $500 to each Wellington High School, Wellington Middle School, Eisenhower Elementary, Kennedy Elementary, Washington Elementary, and Lincoln Elementary. We would love to be able to present the donation to all of you. Would there be a good time where all of you could meet together for a presentation and photo op with the Wellington Young Professionals Board?
cool, awesome, very
Thank
cool.
you.
Very cool. Thank you.
And then the last thing I have is, I think it would be so cool to have a student rep on the board. Not as a board member, but a student, somebody, like, cause I think we need to bridge the gap between, there's a lot of chatter from the students about the cell phone thing, as, to be expected. But I think we owe it to the students, I mean, we're working with them, for them, to have them to play a larger part in our collaboration of what happens. And so I know that there are some districts that have student representatives. They're not voting members, of course, they wouldn't go into executive session, none of that stuff. But just somebody that would be a representation of the students that we could have conversations with, and just it'd be a leadership position, So anyway, I just wanted to bring that out for discussion, maybe in the future, if that's something that the board wants to do. But I think that's an important part of working with the students.
Is fair enough, is that something that the board would like on a future agenda?
Research or something.
Done.
And that's it.
On that note, you probably wanna find a group that student can go back and get more collaboration from, that maybe they're part of.
Yeah, we can discuss it during the meeting and kind of decide how you wanna structure that.
I think it would be easier for policy changes, like this cell phone thing. Implementation of these changes and adherence to the policies would probably be easier and more provide better outcomes if we had students. It didn't feel like, oh, I'm telling you what to do, even though they're minors and we are, but you know what I mean. There's a little bit of collaboration that they felt like they were part of the process.
Yeah, we'll bring it up. Sounds good. It's a good idea.
Andrea?
Charity.
Yep.
I'm glad you're here. There's paint on your sidewalks. There's games. Is that at all the schools?
I don't know, I requested it from my painter. So I just asked her to paint, it's interactive, I don't have no idea what's at the other schools. I think some have them like in their hallways maybe. I don't know, I asked my painter to do it this summer, so.
I'm in the process of filling out a grant to get some templates of different things like that we can do that.
Joel's got fresh concrete.
Sometimes
We
they
just
have,
got brand new
ice.
concrete,
Oh.
so there's not a spot on it.
And then
Keep it
there's
green.
seams on hers.
It's like an interactive sidewalk, so you can, when they get dismissed from the lunchroom to go out to recess, there's like zigzag lines and hopscotch and your feet go this way, just for kids to do something. And then there's a bunch of things out on the playground. It is really super cool.
It's really super cool.
So, if you have a chance, go by and look at it. I was gonna put it in my board
Don't
report
disrupt
next month.
that traffic flow though with your sidewalks.
It's out back, you will not
Okay.
be in the traffic.
Yeah, and your administrators will start putting reports in next month once they get things up and going, so. I know Mr. Nance has done a good job of updating throughout the summer, but you'll get them from everybody here pretty quick.
Last thing, just my monthly reminder to let Russ know if you can make it to convention November 15th through 17th.
Yep, just let me know, we can get you signed up if you're interested. I sent an email out on that, so there's information if you wanna get on KSB and look at that.
You sent an email out?
Last week, I think, wasn't
Yeah,
Oh,
probably.
was it forward? Or no?
Yeah, it was a forwarded one we already had, and he asked.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I changed the subject or not. So,
Okay.
yeah.
it? Anything else?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. We'll go into executive session, 10 minutes, Andrea.
We'll go into executive session for negotiations for 10 minutes.
Just Chad, Darcy, and myself.
Chad, Darcy, and Adam. We'll resume at 8:34.
So moved.
Got a motion? Got a second? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign.
I've been eyeing this one.
You just started that candy.
I'm gonna go take all the mini grades out, but.
On and on about how much fun you are.
Bring it all the time.
Yeah, just myself and Chip.
Okay. More than a minute. We're back in open session, no action was taken. We need to go back in executive session for non-elected personnel to include Adam and Chad for 10 minutes. We'll resume at 8:45.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say.
Some candy.
Oh, there's another Butterfinger over there.
First, I ate Butterfinger, I had to
You notice that?
It's not there.
Oh.
Like your mustache.
Actually, it's all happened when I was on school board for the last time.
You had a full before that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back in open session, no action was taken. On to the next, the consent agenda.
Okay, approve the minutes of the July 8th meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $259,416.84. Bills, $771,904.49. Personnel, approve new hires. Kendra Walther, speech language pathologist for Kennedy. Hallie Vasquez, para Eisenhower. Alora Shuck, para Washington. Shaden Stewart, para Kennedy. Kathy Miller, registrar and athletic director secretary for the high school. Chris Stearns, para for Lincoln. Sherry Christensen, para for Washington. Jamie Jameson, speech para at Kennedy. Rebecca Heil, sped teacher at Eisenhower. Christina McAllister, sped teacher at Washington. Brentasia Kramer, para at Eisenhower. Tyler Brown, para at the high school. Ladapa Frokanakam, para at the high school. Kaylee Smith, sped para at Kennedy. Timothy Lira, para at the middle school. Amelia Barnett, para at Eisenhower. And Kendra Weichel, para at Kennedy. And approve resignations. Janice Etter, para at the high school. Gabrielle Moore, para at Kennedy. Travis West, grounds for the district. Stacy Osborne, Edgenuity for the high school. Marilyn Sears, title aide at Washington. And approve transfers and position changes. Jennifer Blackman, from high school para to English language arts at the high school. And finally, approve Futures Unlimited contract.
So moved.
We got a motion, can I get a second? Second. We got a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
You're really getting it. So
Thank
look
you.
at that. You're getting good.
We still must open, I said that right, I said, no, you didn't.
You need a little more.
Oh, we could have sent out like last year, didn't we send letters to people? Teachers weren't teachers. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, should we do that again? or-
I remember that. I don't know if that's a requirement. Yeah, I'll write that down. I don't know. I remember doing that.
Yeah.